Starting to see a conspiracy been fooling me. When I watch TV, they're manufactured views all over the news. It's giving me the blues, and it's time to choose. Starting to wake up from this sleep, from all the lies they spread that run so deep. But I will laze no more. Who are they fighting for? It isn't me. But now I see there is a new world order, but we're not invited. So much blood and murder from the drones unsighted. World War III is haunting me. I've got to find a way to save my family. The human race has lost its way. We put our trust in science, but it's us who pay. Used to be civilized, but we've been compromised. We're on a one-way train. We've got to break this chain. Starting to see that we should be free. The powers that be want a piece of me. Should I do what they say or tell them go away? What is the price for freedom? 'Cause it sure ain't free. The time has come to raise the bar. There'll be nowhere to hide if there's a third world war. So let your voice be heard and let your heart decide to stand and fight for freedom while you've still got time. Wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up. Stand up, stand up. Stand up, stand up. Wake up, wake up. The time has come to fight. Wake up, wake up. Don't waste another night. Stand up. What are you waiting for? Stand up, stand up. Oh, they're gonna soon be at your door.
There you go. Good evening. Yeah, they're going to soon be at your door. That's the new intro. I noticed in the chat room somebody liked it, so we might keep it for a little bit. So good evening to everybody. Welcome to Raconteurs News. It is Tuesday, and the last line of that, they'll soon be at your door, is what is happening now. It's happening in Liverpool. They're going to be going around to everybody's house and testing and stuff like that. Look at him laugh. I can see him laughing now. He's laughing now. I can see him. You know, this is not going to be a fun or easy. Yeah. Well, anyway. Let's just get into it. Neil Sanders, good evening. How are you today? There we go. Let's get rid of that one. Remove that one. And you're on. Can't hear you, Neil.
Hey up. How's it going?
Hey, how you doing? Neil Sanders.
I'm not bad, thanks.
Author, general, when it comes to COVID, I mean, general pisser offerer, I think, is the word that I think you give to yourself. How are you, my friend?
Yeah, I'm not bad, thanks, mate. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. We're getting there. We're getting there one little bit at a time. But yeah, we're getting there. So we wanted you back. We were talking. I'll pick you up on what you were laughing at me when I said they're going to soon be at your door. Where they're talking about in Liverpool now. What's your reading of the thing that's happening in Liverpool?
Well, I took it that basically the army are going to go in and take over the test sites from Serco. I don't think they're going door to door. It's voluntary. If you want the test, you can have the test and go to the site. Serco are fucking
anywhere.
Yeah, but they just haven't got the capacity. Somehow, even though they spent £12 billion, somehow that money's all gone missing. It went to Nicholas Soames, who's Winston Churchill's grandson, and he's the one that's running the testing centres and the track and trace, the point, the contacting app and stuff like that. It's been a complete total shit show, and it cost 12 billion quid. The app itself works perfectly fine. And then what happened was they brought in Nicholas Soames and they brought in Palantir. Palantir are it's Peter Thiel, and it's he's connected to the CIA through InQtel, which is their what's it fucking called? I can't remember. Basically, like it's a CIA front that basically promotes certain businesses. And what Palantir does is it basically steals data. It's one of these massive data mining things, and for no reason at all, Palantir are involved in the app, which makes it completely dodgy. Because basically, you know, Palantir steal your data essentially. And so what the army have been asked to do in this case is basically take over the sensors, as far as I can tell. Very much like when the army came into Sheffield to help with the flood defences and stuff like that. They're not going to have guns or anything like that. They're literally just bodies on the floor
we're not talking about that, are we? I mean, it is going to be quite to see an army uniform. It gives you a feeling as if you're in a war. And so you are.
Yeah, it's stupid. It really shouldn't have come to this, should it? Like, they should have basically not paid £12 billion to their mates and done it properly, but they didn't. But that's what you get when you vote for the Conservatives, and it's specifically what you get when you vote for a twat like Boris Johnson.
Exactly. Well, I don't vote, so I didn't vote for any of the twats, to be honest with you. But yeah, it just seems right. I know, Neil, like you've got this is a good idea, right? Is that I don't want to have just an echo chamber where people come on and they say, you know, it's all this and it's all that and it's all an echo chamber. I don't. That's what I've always liked. I think someone commented on one of our shows, actually, the one that I did with you before all this COVID nonsense, and said that it were refreshing to hear some of that weren't just an echo chamber.
Well, isn't it unusual that in the truth movement and you know, which is essentially supposed to be alternative media discussion and stuff like that, it's surprisingly uniform in its thinking, isn't it? And people are very, very wary to go outside of like what is prescribed from a top-down thing. There's all this talk of like sheeple, and yet people just have a tendency to repeat shit verbatim, often reading only the headlines and not actually checking the substance of the material, doing the very same thing that they accuse the mainstream media of doing. And it's like, basically, you get all these people saying, oh, I don't watch the news, oh, you're brainwashed because you watch the news. It's like, yeah, I can see that. I would agree with that. But how's it any better getting your information from one source on YouTube?
Yeah, from one. Yeah, I agree with you. I think the alternative media, as we want to call it, and would like to be, I think it's jumped on this and been making a fortune. There are certain people that have been making a fortune out of this. So I do understand that. But what I'm saying, what my point of view is that in my everyday life, I don't know anybody, and I know that I don't know anybody that's got COVID, and I know that still.
Didn't you tell me the other day that you haven't left the house in about 3 months?
No, I've not. No.
Right. Okay.
I still hear of family members.
Well, hang on. I mean, I'll tell you. Like, I can put you in touch with several people on my timeline. If you're really that bothered, like, okay, I could put you in touch with people.
I'm not really that bothered. I'm just trying to. All I'm trying to do is I'm trying to come from a point of view of most people don't know anybody. They don't.
Okay.
So it's you can
most people don't know anybody that's died of AIDS. Should that mean that we should all go like bareback and fuck as many prozzers as we can?
Well, I've sat with somebody who's died. I've sat somebody that took the last spring. In fact, I carried him to the toilet who had AIDS. So I do know that there are.
That show, how fucking monstrous would it be if I was to say to you, no, you're an idiot. You're an idiot because AIDS doesn't exist. Your friend didn't die of AIDS because I've never seen that. I've never seen anybody that's died of AIDS. So you're obviously lying, Jason. What cunt would it be if I'd have said that?
Well, you wouldn't be a cunt. You just it wouldn't make a difference to me.
The argument being made, though, isn't it?
It's what? Sorry, say that again.
That's essentially the argument that's being made. I haven't seen it, therefore it couldn't possibly exist. It doesn't.
No, that doesn't work.
Any different?
Well, because you usually, like, you know, if there's a bug going round, you usually know that the kid, they'll say there's a bug going round, right? Well, kids get it at school, and then some old people might get it, and there's a bug going round. You hear things.
Truth Juice Hull? You know Truth Juice?
I've heard of Truth Juice Hull, yeah.
Right. Okay. Oh, so you don't? I don't know. Oh, sorry. Catherine, the lovely lady that runs it, helps run it. Not only has she worked in a care home where lots of people have got COVID, but she herself has caught COVID, and her daughter caught it. I can put you in touch with you. You can have a chat and bring her on a show if you want. She's a wonderful lady.
Certainly, I'd certainly like to hear from somebody. I mean, but if someone shoves
put you in touch with my mate Rob, if you like, who he seems better now, but basically he's a guitar teacher, and he caught it from one of his students. And he was feeling dreadful for a week, like really, really, really bad. I can put you in touch with these people if you like. Did you go and watch any? You know, last time when we said, you said, "Oh, I've not seen any evidence of it at all," and I said, "Go and watch this vlog. Go and watch this vlog. Go and read this person's diary of working in the COVID ward." Did you do any of that?
I probably not. No, I have done some research. I've done some research, and I have looked. Look, I'm not saying it doesn't exist. And I'm not saying it's not real, right? What I'm saying is most people's perception of it is that they've not had any contact with anybody with COVID, right? And also we're talking about a lying tyrannical government, as you've already pointed out at the beginning. Anybody who votes Conservative, this is what you get. But when you've got a government that's prone to doing stuff like this, and I think we know that there are things that the governments have done that they won't admit to, and we all think, even yourself will think, well, hang on, that's a bit dodgy or whatever. So once you put the two together, you're not seeing anybody. If your gran or whatever had got it and she'd been in hospital and you've not been able to see her, and they told you she died from it, you know, again, you were talking about earlier on. You were talking about.
Okay, I understand people's levels of suspicion. What would convince you otherwise?
What, that they were a pandemic?
Yeah.
Well, some evidence. Some.
Well, okay, fine. What would you consider evidence?
Well, I consider evidence is things that I can see, I can feel, I can hear, and I can touch. I know that there are many articles written on both sides to say.
Well, that's fucking. That's not true at all. And this is good because, like, we'll come on to this. You'll notice that Peter Hitchens in the Daily Mail has been poo-pooing it right from the start. Carl Hennigan in the Daily Mail has been poo-pooing it right from the start. Sunita Gupta, Carol Sikora, all the people that are connected to the Barrington Declaration, which, by the way, is being promoted, is actually the UK government nudge unit in Treasury. They've been promoting this concept that the lockdown is shit, and that basically the lockdown kills more people than the disease since February. And that's come directly from two places. It's come from Economic Insight, which is the think tank that runs the PR firm for the UK Treasury, and it's come from the UK Nudge Unit. And how do I know this? Because they've admitted to it. Patrick Vallance is in the Nudge Unit. Sunita Gupta is in the Nudge Unit. Carl Hennigan's in the Nudge Unit. They've been promoted by Sir Grew Communications. Sir Grew Communications is the PR firm of the UK government's behavioural insight. That's the mind control programme, the Nudge Unit that everyone's so bothered about. They've not actually bothered to check any of the information out of what they're actually promoting. They've been promoting it through the Mail, the Express, the Spectator, Spiked Online, Off Guardian, Lockdown Skeptics, Fox News, New York Post. And guess what the connection is between all those things? They're owned by the Koch brothers, the Barclay brothers. They're owned by Lord Northcliffe. They're owned by people with a vested interest in not having the government put any money into the problems and creating this scenario where you've got two choices. You stay in and your business goes down, or you go out and potentially, you know, catch it or make exacerbate the problem by basically just, you know, not actually dealing with it. So that's a complete lie. Talk Radio, owned by Murdoch, has been absolutely 100% shitting on the government measures right from the start. And here's the interesting thing. It's the government shitting on their own measures. They're pretending that they're following SAGE, which is Chris Whitty, essentially. Not once have they done anything that SAGE has recommended. They also put Dominic Cummings, Ben Warner, and Chris Valance, of all connected to Palantir and the Behavioural Insight Group. They put them in SAGE to basically just completely make it pointless, and they've not been listening to them. They've been listening to a series of scientists connected to a group of think tanks called the Atlas Network, okay, and they've been trying to pursue herd immunity ever since February. They've never once done anything that would have helped. The lockdown initially was supposed to give them time to sort everything out, and then what did they do? These stupid bastards! They sent all the kids back to university, and told everyone to get back on the tube and go to work. And this was all being praised again by the Daily Mail, by the Express, by the Times, by the Spectator, by Spiked Online, who all own these people. And there's nobody seems to have made the connection that it's massive big business, the oil industry and the banks, who are telling you, oh, no, do this, go back to work. And they're the people who are promoting herd immunity, and nobody seems to have picked up on it. But that's not true. The idea that basically, like, it's been wall to wall, listen to the government and only one perspective, even in the mainstream media, simply isn't true.
Well, okay, all right. Listen, let's get on to some of what we've got. When we've got
the first question that I saw there was, sorry, go on.
Yeah, go on. Yeah, go on. Go on. Talk about the masks. What's the masks going to do?
Masks basically just stop you spitting on people. That's really it. They're not there to protect the mask wearer. They're there to prevent you coughing on people, sneezing on people. Are they the be-all and end-all? No, but not by any stretch of the imagination. But they are just a preventative measure. And people say, well, if masks work, what about, why do we need to be 6 feet apart? And if 6 feet apart, why do we need masks? It's like, brilliant, well done. That's very clever. It's a bit like saying, well, if seatbelts work, why do we need roll cages? And if roll cages work, why would we bother with a stupid thing like a speed limit? And if there's a speed limit, why? So masks are essentially a preventative measure. I've noticed that no one's died of hypoxia. I haven't seen a single person died of hypoxia yet. And like, that was the thing. Oh, we can't wear masks because everyone's going to die. You know, if you've got like a real exemption for wearing masks, don't wear a mask. That's perfectly okay. But it is a bit like, there was an article that was out today, and this poor woman is basically, she'd been raped, and it's really traumatizing for her to have a mask on because it reminds her of the gentleman's hand over her mouth. It's like, well, the poor thing, and like, you know, you've got to sympathise with the woman, and if she's got anxiety, then that's perfectly okay. Like, the whole point of this is to help people. It's not to persecute people. But here's the thing: you know why those people are being persecuted unfairly? A lot of the time, it's because a lot of people are pretending to be disabled, right, or to have some sort of fucking problem, rather than because they don't want to have the slight inconvenience of having a mask on. Like, if that's the hill you're going to die on, oh, I don't believe in masks, blah, blah, blah. Fine, okay, do what you like. Right, okay, it's a bit silly. I really don't see what the problem is with them. But if that's the hill you want to die on,
that's really interesting. I mean, first of all, I just want to...
I'll tell you why I wear a mask, right? I'll tell you why I wear a mask, Jason. It's a thing called common courtesy. I'm going into a shop, which will get a fine if basically someone reports the fact that I'm not wearing a mask, then I'm going to wear a mask. They've asked me to, I want to. Because you know what? I've noticed again, basically, like, okay, everyone all of a sudden is like, oh, the lockdown's happening again. But small businesses, what are we going to do about small businesses? And they're right. Small businesses are fucked. But I'll tell you something, 2 weeks ago, you didn't give a shit about small businesses. You wouldn't deign to put a piece of cloth around your face. I've seen people, and I've seen people I know now in the chat room right now saying, fuck these businesses. I've been in 3 shops and they all told me off for not wearing a mask. And so I've told them to fuck off and I hope they all go bankrupt. So you didn't care about small businesses at all.
People aren't saying, I mean, what you're
I
doing.
can point them out in the chat room. I'll name fucking names if you want.
Just first of all, right, you were talking about the mask earlier on and the lady that had anxiety because she'd been raped, and I wouldn't refer to the guy, the gentleman's hand. Certainly not. A rapist is not a fucking gentleman for a start.
No.
But anyway, I mean, you seem to be getting quite wound up about this. Look, it's a piece of cloth that goes over your face. I mean, that's the most ridiculous argument that I can think of. You know, it's a piece of cloth and it goes over your face. So, you know, why not wear one? Because I don't fucking want to wear one.
Well, if you don't know, then you obviously didn't listen to a fucking word I've just said. So if you don't want
listen to the whole lot.
don't wear one.
And listen to the whole lot. And we were talking about small business.
Repeat it back to me.
Right at the very start of this, at the very start of this COVID outbreak, we were concerned about small businesses. We are concerned about small businesses.
But we're not anymore.
But we are. We are concerned about small
to the extent to the point where it causes you a very minor inconvenience. If
they've got to close up simply because of something that is a kit that 99.9% of people recover from, and very few people die from. If I've got to wear a mask and they've got to incorporate, they've got to make a fucking little maze going around the shop so that nobody passes each other, and you've got to how much money is that costing? Small businesses can't afford that. That's why small businesses are going. It's not because I won't wear a mask, because they won't give a shit. The small business owners won't give a shit if I've got a mask on or not. What they want is they want me in their shop and buying things and making their business viable. They don't care about a mask, right?
So if you walked into a place and they said very politely, it's the legislation at the minute, could you possibly put on a mask just for the 20 seconds that you're in the shop? What would you say? No. Okay, well, why not?
Well, because I don't want to. Why should I? There's no reason for me to wear a mask.
And we as a business, we have to worry about that because essentially we could get fined.
But they've all been closed now. They've all been closed now. It's the big businesses. It don't bother them. They've got they've made a fortune out of it.
The sandwich shop that I always go to, that's remaining open. The fucking leisure centre's remaining open this time. Yeah, so this isn't true. But there are small businesses. The local shop, the local shop. That's where I've been going all the time, to the local shop. That's not closing, but they very politely asked me to wear a mask, so I do.
Right. So then that's you. If you want to acquiesce to that, then that's your choice.
Yes. Someone's been listening to David Icke, who obviously got the Oasis box set.
Listen to David Icke. He fucking God knows that long.
It's my mind control word. If I keep saying acquiesce, then people will go, "Yeah, I'm not doing that."
But I've not listened to David Icke in God knows how long.
That's called sloganeering or marketing.
Hang on, someone's fucking ringing me up. You're irritating that, but you're making people that angry that people fucking.
That's George Soros.
Listen, this is it's fine. But look, if that person really wants to stay open and wants my business, then they're not going to give a shit whether where I'm not going to. I don't want to go near them. I'm the same as you, right? I think of I'm thinking of other people. So if I'm using my mobility skills.
This is the thing, but your premise is based on falsehoods, right? You said two things. One, it's got a 99.9% recovery rate. No, it hasn't. It really hasn't.
No,
it has for children.
99.9% chance of not dying from it.
No, that's not true, because only if you work it out against the entire population. How you work out the fatality rate is how many people caught it and how many people died. Let's do it right now. We'll go on Worldometer and we'll have a look and see what it is at the minute.
Right, okay. Where's Worldometer? What's their gig?
Well, it's a statistics thing, isn't it? Like,
Okay.
basically, so there's been 47,706 820 cases, 1,217,421 deaths. So that's a 3% fatality rate.
From
So
people who
it's
catch it. 3% fatality
rate.
rate. 97%.
Yeah, you don't get it. Yes,
So,
that's the point. So
don't
when
you
people
remember,
are using this 99.9% thing, well, yeah, but Ebola's got a 0% fatality rate if you don't catch it.
97%. 97%. So do you remember though? This is where people are struggling.
Jason,
We get told on
hang on.
But
Jason,
no, we get told on Halloween. Sorry?
Hang on. Oh, fucking hell. Jason, just for comparison, what's flu? What's the fatality rate of flu?
I have no idea.
Okay.
But I know been far
you
more.
seem very confident in your argument a second ago. That's weird. Right, it's 0.01%. So 3% is actually quite high. Yeah. And that's basically also not taking into account
figures, aren't they? They're leaving the 97%. Look, listen, there's something about 97, right? If you remember back in the day in Facebook and when they used to, well, I think they still fucking do now, some morons, but they have this thing and it'll say, it's such and such day, whatever awareness day, yada yada. Can you post this? 97% of people won't, but I think I know the 3% who will. And see, there's something about that number. The 97, there's something about that number. So for it to arrive, it's going to 3% definitely. I'll take that. You've probably got more chance of dying from food poisoning from a McDonald's burger.
Well, again, we can check if you want, because there's been 1.2 million people have died this year of COVID, and we can check if you like, see how many people have died from food poisoning. I mean, all these figures are out there, Jason. This is the point. Okay, and again, I'm not frightened of it. Okay, but all this bullshit pretending that it's absolutely nothing is counterproductive, and most of it is based in people not actually bothering to find out anything about it. Like, so what is the fatality rate?
You think the destruction to the economy, the impact?
No, I don't think. No, brilliant. I'm glad you brought this up. No, I don't. And I've got a solution.
You didn't know what my question was going to be, so I didn't have a solution to it.
The economy is worth all of this, didn't you?
I said,
okay, right, yeah, fine. Okay.
The mental health impact that it's had on people being in lockdown, the impact it's had on people's mental health being locked down. Don't you think that has been more destructive than COVID-19 has ever been and ever will be?
No, I don't, and I know exactly why you think that and where it came from. And I explained this earlier. That came from a think tank called Economic Insight, which is connected to the HM Treasury, and it's connected to the Behavioural Insight Group, which is the UK Mind Control Unit, the Nudge Unit. Okay, and they put out that report in about March, and it's from Economic Insight. I can find it for you, and then that's been repeated by Carol Sikora, Sunita Gupta, Mike Eden, Talk Radio, all the Murdoch papers, all the Lord Northcliffe papers, all the Koch brothers papers, all the Barclay brothers papers ever since, because that's the HM Treasury. The HM Treasury don't want a lockdown because they want the coffers to keep turning. Essentially, it's really down to the oil industry, who've lost a massive, massive amount of money because people aren't driving anywhere. Or certainly were driving.
Didn't oil go negative?
Yes, it did. When it's a negative equity, it would cost you $200. They would pay you at one point during the summer $200 to take a barrel of oil off their hands.
Yeah. So
right.
So there you go.
Big business has been pushing this idea that the lockdown kills more people than COVID, and I can prove that because I can show you the paper and I can show you every single person who's repeated that and where they got that from. Okay, now, do I think that there is a massive impact on people's mental health? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's horrible. Do I think that there's a massive impact on people's businesses? Yeah, it's horrible. Do I think that there's a massive impact on waiting lists for the NHS? Yes, it's horrible, but that's part of the point. That was part of the plan. They want to fuck up the NHS as badly as they can so that they can sell it off in January, because that's the only thing that they've got going out of this trade deal with America. And do I think that basically there's innumerable problems that are caused by the lockdown? Absolutely, yes. But 2 points. One, all these problems existed this time last year, okay? And nobody was doing anything about it at that point, okay? It's very good that this has highlighted these problems and brought them under a spotlight. But again, are we looking for solutions for these problems, or are we just saying, here's a reason why we shouldn't be in lockdown, okay? Now, what is the solution to all of these problems? Saving small businesses, providing mental health care, ensuring the NHS is funded so that people don't have to miss operations, and supporting small businesses. What's the solution? What is the solution? It's really, really, really easy. We tax Google, we tax Amazon, we tax Instagram.
Though, is it?
Well, you know what? The mainstream will find that. You know what? I'll tell you what. It won't happen with that attitude. But if, rather than arguing about, hang on, rather than arguing about whether mask works and whether viruses exist, whether everybody went, hang on, that's a really good idea. That's a practical idea. We could force the government to do what they should be doing anyway. Everybody in the country would be behind that. There wouldn't be anybody, not just the alternative media. That's a real practical solution.
How many times have you heard the some paper, usually the Daily Mail, which is they are spouting off about how Amazon, Google,
don't pay tax. I know.
Facebook and everything. They don't pay any taxes. They don't pay anything. They're never going to. They weren't going to in the old world. Now they've created a new normal where they're the only show in town is the internet. That's where you've got to go. If you can't go on Tinder anymore and swipe through, go and have a shag. You have to be on Google or on at least on internet.
Well, then fuck it then, Jason. Let's not get in the bath and do the Greek thing. Suicide, not sodomy, unless you want to do that, I suppose. Like, you know, you're right. It's fucking pointless, isn't it?
Yeah, completely.
Well, anyway, great show. Thanks, everyone. At least we got to the bottom of that one.
Oh dear, no. Look, they've been saying that. I know that it's a solution. Everybody, but it's like saying.
It's more realistic.
It's never going to happen because the people who are at the top or in Google are far too powerful.
Jason, you have people on here saying that basically, like, Tom Hanks is going to get hung and shit like that. Like, it's far more likely to happen than Tom Hanks and all the paedophile kids getting taken out of the underground tunnels and shit like that. Isn't it? It's an actual practical solution. It's a mantra that that could solve problems. It's a way that we can solve these problems. And here's the interesting thing. Well, here's the interesting thing, Jason. Why has it been reduced to that? Why has it been reduced to, if we have a lockdown, everyone's going to die of suicide and isolation and loneliness? Why is it that binary choice?
If we don't have a lockdown, then everyone's going to die from a flu.
Why is it? Yeah, you're absolutely right. Silly, isn't it? Why has it been put down to that binary choice?
Well, obviously, but again, what we're saying is, what I'm trying to say is that on both sides there's propaganda, there's rhetoric, right. There's stuff going on both sides.
What do you mean both sides? What sides?
Sorry?
What sides?
Well, on both sides is the virus. Well, there's more than one. Is there a virus? Is the virus a risk? Is this lockdown worth it?
The lockdown's been done badly, but again, this is the point. Again, what the government has done with this, like, what would you do other than a lockdown at this point? Like, because
just go on as normal. Carry on as normal. Carry on regardless.
Okay. That didn't really work out in Brazil or Peru or Florida, did it?
Did it not? You tell me.
No. I'll tell you what. Okay, I'll tell you exactly what happened. What happened in Florida and Brazil Bizarrely, places where, you know, like, for example, Bolsonaro was put in by the Atlas Network, the Heritage Foundation, and Cambridge Analytica, the same set of right-wing people who run the same papers that pump out all this shit that I've been saying is actually connected to the Behavioral Insight Unit. They decided that they're just going to ignore it. And massive amounts of people died. In Florida, what they did was they fiddled tests. Because you swab twice, in the nose and in the mouth, what they did was they said basically, well, if it's a negative, we count it twice. If it's positive, we count it once. And so they fiddled the figures. And people can remember that nurse, that blonde nurse that came out and actually said and exposed this. And Ron DeSantis said, well, whatever, we're going to send people back. You know, we're going to open the beaches up and we're going to open the economy. And massive amounts of people died.
Massive amount. What? Give some figures.
Okay, now let's find out. But it was in the thousands, like hundreds per day, and it's continuing. And so America has got the worst case in the world at the minute. But yeah, so this is the point. That's entirely the point. Like, you know, I've just looked at the facts and stuff. You come out with stuff like, oh, it's not actually that dangerous. It's just a blah, blah, blah.
You don't, but you know, what you're saying is that everything that you've read is a fact. It's an actual fact.
I'm saying there's an explanation to everything.
It's factual.
And a lot
argue about that.
Sorry, I missed that last bit.
I said, I'm just saying that everything that you're saying has come from an actual.
Well, it's because I've bothered to check what. No. What I've done is people have come out with statements, and I've gone, well, let's have a look and see where they've got that from, and if there's any evidence to support it. No, there isn't. Let's see if there's any evidence counter to that. Yes, there's lots. That's how it works. Let's have a look. Florida have had 16,000, nearly 17,000 deaths, and the majority of those were since they reopened.
Florida, yeah. By the way, which is is where everyone goes to die in America. You know, you retire and so there's got a lot of old people there. So
yeah, right.
I mean, their flu figures must be massive, like every year.
Yeah. But this is even more. This is the point. Yes, flu is always massive. This is far greater than the flu. Just the numbers. You can look at the numbers. The numbers are far greater than even the largest. So the largest number of flu deaths in America in the last 15 years was 64,000 something. I've got the figures if you want them. And you know, obviously they've lost over 230,000 or something like that in America now. So this is the point. If you say, oh, it's just the flu, okay, fine. Well, let's have a look at the figures. The figures of the worst flu in recent years in America was 64,000 odd people, and you know, it's 230 odd thousand people. So even if people say like, oh, I see what they've done, they've swapped out the flu, it's just the flu, but they've renamed it COVID. All right, fine, potentially. Like, where's all the extra people come from? And that's not even looking at the excess.
Well, what's the flu figures for this year? We don't know, do we? We won't know.
The flu figures. They're surprisingly low, they're actually. But there's quite a bit
low,
of
right?
Yeah.
So some COVID could be flu.
Yeah. Well, yeah. More like some of the people. Hang on. More likely, some of the people that would have died of flu have actually died of COVID instead, and would have probably died of flu anyway. But even if you were to take every single flu, say flu on average is about 11 to 17,000 people a year in the UK. And already COVID has killed basically, what we're on, 45,000. And again, the excess death figure in the UK is 70,000 this year. That's 70,000 people more than the 5-year average have died this year than expected. In America, it's 300,000 more than expected have died this year. Now, not all of those are COVID, of course. Like, a lot of that is down to people not going to hospital, people having operations delayed and such like that, people committing suicide for various reasons, and all sorts of failures on part of the government. But again, this is all connected because it's all due to their response.
Right, anyway, I'm going to say you're listening to, you're watching in full colour Raconteurs News with me, your host, Jason Holmes, and my guest, Neil Sanders. I just want to say to people, can you stop fucking ringing me? Sure, you must be winding people up like fucking mad because they're just phoning me, and I've had I've had people know I'm on air. They're watching. So, I'll speak to you afterwards or whatever. But yeah, yeah, we've got Neil Sanders on. Here we go. Let's see what Unite Planet say about this. Here we go. You know Unite Planet, don't you? You've been on their show. 412,607 seasonal flu deaths this year, and 29.
Right. Yeah, but there's been 1.2 million. What he's saying is, people can fucking see it, can't they? This isn't a podcast. Yeah, but there's been 1.2 million deaths. So even if all of those 200,000 seasonal flu deaths were just swapped out for COVID, you've still got 1 million extra deaths. It doesn't add up. It doesn't add up.
Right. And those figures are based upon government. Those are government figures.
You can't bring out figures and go, my figures are good, but I don't believe Neil's figures. The exact same.
Neil, you keep going off you keep going off at me when all I'm doing is I'm just asking you. I weren't going to challenge you on them. I was just asking you. Those figures are those government figures.
Well, they're always government figures because that's where you get the official figures from.
Okay.
That's where Unite Planet has just got those figures from the official sources. If you've got a source for the official figures other than the official source, I'm happy to look at it.
Yeah, it's sorry, I'm just looking at fucking all shit that's going on in chat. Bobby Ball died with coronavirus. By the way, do you not remember? I think last time it were
Eddie Large. I know it's sweeping through the shit comedians, isn't it?
and now we're going. Oh, I love Eddie Large. Rock on, Tommy. Rock on, Tommy.
No, that was you. That was your fault, Jason.
I killed Bobby Ball, not coronavirus. So we can take that one off official figures. Shall we get to some of these? We had some questions sent in, and I asked you first one. So I'm going to ask you first one. This is Super Leeds has sent me this. He's still there. No. Does Neil agree with the curve flattened and death rates virtually nil? Social gatherings should drop from 30 to 6.
Where did you get this idea that death rates are virtually nil? We've had over 200 deaths for the last 5 days, haven't we? So that's a particularly loaded and flawed question. But, I'll ignore that and I'll just answer it anyway. I don't have a say on it. I honestly don't have a say on it. I don't know why you think I would have a say on it, but I don't. Do I agree with it? No, not really. I think they've pulled that figure out their arse, and I think it very much depends on how safely you do stuff. Like, it's very, very. This is the problem with sweeping rules like that, is that, say there's 7 people who all live on their own, all in a village, all alone. It would be illegal, say, for them to meet in the cafe. That's stupid. That's really silly. No, the rules are really daft and arbitrary, and the rules are badly designed, and they're confusing. But I contend that the rules are confusing because the government has been going for herd immunity right from the start. And they don't really want the rules to make any sense, and they've been purposely undermining their own policy, and they've been promoting a series of doctors and scientists pretending to be anti-government, when in actual fact they're not anti-government. They're trying to validate what the government's actually been doing. Where the body bags, again, this would be one of those things where you've not actually bothered to check the counterpoint to your argument. Like, there were times when there was lots of body bags being loaded up in New York. And you can ask Billy Ray. You know Billy Ray, don't you? You know Billy Ray Valentine, don't you?
No, I've heard of him.
Right. He's a
sorry, no, I believe he's heard of me.
I think he really likes you
No,
as far.
joking.
No, I
I don't.
think you were
No,
friends.
I have heard of him. Yeah, I think it's been Mark Devlin's had been on it.
He's a rock fan. Yeah. Okay, he's in New York. You know, he's seen some terrible shit, and like spoken to doctors who've seen really awful stuff. There was times when basically bodies were being buried en masse in Brazil, and there was times where basically recently there was in Russia there was a huge problem with bodies. Now, it's things like, for example, the Nightingale Hospital and like, you know, where the temporary morgues and that was all crap. It was all for the tourists, right? Okay. The reason the Nightingale hospitals began, they spent pissed millions of pounds of public money up the wall. And they never provided staff for those hospitals. Never, ever. It was window dressing. It was the government trying to show to the voting public that, oh, we're on top of this. We've got this in hand. Bum, 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 bum. And they didn't know their arse from their elbow. So no, I don't.
If you're saying that they were window dressing and that was just like, you know, sort of like a bit of an act, then it can't this all be a bit of an act? This whole thing.
Not really, because, you know, again, like they were just there to pretend that they could help, because again, you could go and watch those blogs that I advised you to go and watch months ago. You could speak to the woman the woman that lives next door to my mum. I can put you in touch with all these people who worked in these care homes and stuff like that, and you could find out that they had a horrible time of it. They had a really horrible time of it. Thankfully, it didn't get to the point where there was body bags in the street. Doesn't mean that it wasn't shit. Most fortunate figures as last year. I bet that turns out not to be true.
Well, I don't know. I'm just putting up the quotes up there.
Well, I see. This is why I said to send some of them to me before, because then I could have gone and checked that. But I don't know what.
That's just come through on chat now.
No, I know.
I did get you. I have got some for you from before. Let's have a look at this second one. Bob, I think the second one. And I think he's lost that. Seeing as we know now that COVID is not very deadly or very infectious, does he agree that lockdowns are based on incorrect information?
No, because neither of those things are true. We know it to be far more infectious than it is deadly, and only deadly if handled badly. But it is, you know, it can kill people, and it can also give people very, very debilitating long-term problems, lung problems, kidney problems, heart problems. So no, I don't. Again, your premise is flawed.
Whoever asked that question, which was, someone has asked, why does he all of a sudden trust government?
I don't trust the government. There's no one been fucking listening to me for the past 9 months. I've been saying that they've been purposely going for herd immunity while telling people they were listening to the scientists, not actually listening to the scientists, and they're hiding the massive amounts of excess deaths that have been caused by this stupid thing. I've also said that basically the government are trying to trick you by pushing people like Sunita Gupta, Carol Sikora, Carl Hennigan, and Livermore, Mike Eden, all those dickheads who are basically connected to the Coke Industries funded Barrington Declaration. So no, I've not been listening to the government. Have you not been listening to me?
These questions came in before.
I know, I'm answering them. I was talking to the person who, I'm not talking to you, Jason. Like, I'm talking to the person who asked that question because it's a stupid question.
Oh, he's on one tonight. He's on one tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I've got Neil Sanders with me. We're talking all things COVID. Now, it was just in my head. I mean, I just thought to myself, I don't know if you know the answer to this.
Yeah.
But so you've got two dead guys, same age, on a mortuary slab, one each. One's died of flu and one's died of COVID. Would there be a difference? Would there be any difference at all? Or is COVID...
Well, again, technically, you don't die of flu.
They've been using.
Well, again, technically, you don't actually die of flu. Like, people don't die of flu. Flu is a contributing factor. Like with COVID, is a contributing factor. It depends entirely on what they've died on. How you would test for that is basically excuse me, to see if COVID was present. And there's about 4 or 5 different ways. COVID, you see, this is the other misconception. COVID is the disease that you get with from SARS-CoV. There was a bit. People were saying, have you noticed they've changed the name from COVID to SARS to coronavirus on the news and stuff like that? And people were right, they did. But there is an explanation for that, because COVID is the disease that you get that causes the psychotic. It's the response in your lungs where it basically looks like a glass grenade's gone off and it shatters through. And so, for example, if they died of COVID rather than say coronavirus or COVID-related illnesses, you could see that, and you would be able to see that on either an autopsy or actually with an MRI scan or a CT scan. You can actually just see that it looks like lightning's going through the lungs, and it's completely distinct from any other respiratory disease. And also, basically, when you get the sort of pneumonic fluid filling up from COVID, it's this horrible sort of like weird sort of mucus that's filled with blood and blood clots, and it's not like anything else that's been found. And that was exacerbated by being put on ventilators, because basically it was just literally just crushing like all the air out of them and doing the wrong thing. And so initially people died when they were treating them badly with ventilation and stuff like that, because that's the normal way that you would treat pneumonia. Or really bad flu, where basically you require a respirator. And so that was a distinction as well between the diseases. The normal course of treatment just simply was not showing any response from the patient.
So what you're saying then is, because you say nobody dies of COVID and nobody dies of COVID, they die with COVID. Let me just finish one question.
Yes,
finish one question. So nobody dies of COVID, nobody dies of flu. There must be some underlying condition that they can't cope with this infection in their body. Now, second, so if there is, and I've got a dicky heart. If I tested positive for COVID and I die of a heart attack tomorrow, then would I be included in the heart attack statistics or the COVID statistics? Because if nobody died of COVID, then why have we got figures?
It depends where. Right. What was the first? Right. The first question, right, was what people usually die of is called ARDS, which is acute respiratory distress syndrome, and it basically just means that you can't breathe anymore, and that is usually the result of like pneumonia, flu, or COVID. Now, there are several different things that would cause that to stop breathing. It would be either pneumatic fluid, a breakdown of the ability of a collapse of the lungs, or something like that. And so basically that would be how they determine it. In all of those cases, they would be put as a contributing factor, an underlying cause to the disease, to the death. Now, if you were tested positive for COVID and you died of a heart attack the following day, it depends where you died. If you died in hospital after having a blood test that proved you had COVID in hospital, then you would be added to the COVID test thing. And the reason that is because it's an immune response, because you've suppressant, because you've got a dicky heart. There's a small chance that you could have been always destined throughout your life to have that heart attack on that particular day. But your immune system is basically one of the things that is preventing you from having heart failure at all times. And if your immune system is taken away, you're at a severe disadvantage. Now, could it have been just something like a valve that was going to split anyway? Yeah, it could have been potentially. And that's always the tricky thing with deaths, is that basically there's always a bit of bleed over, because, you know, the human body is a complicated thing, and death is actually far more complicated than people would give it credit for. But that's the point. This is what the disease does, and this is why, as I said before, the sort of died with it is a bit of a moot point, because basically it works like HIV or like AIDS. It basically strips away your natural protection to stop anything from attacking you. And in fact, it takes you to the point when you develop COVID that actually your immune system starts attacking itself. And so the very protective force that is inside your body is actually going to kill you.
Sorry, I put that one up. I want to put that one up.
Mm-hmm.
Average age of COVID deaths is 82.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean that it's not also causing huge amounts of problems to like the infrastructure and the NHS, and also, yeah, that's an average. It doesn't mean that like younger people aren't affected by it, particularly people who've got underlying conditions and comorbidities and stuff like that. People who've got things like high blood pressure, heart problems like yourself, Jason, diabetes, kidney problems, anything like that. You're seriously at risk from it.
But then what do? Do you go into the kidney death rate or the COVID? Are they doubling the numbers? Is it like The Office when the American Office? I don't know if you've watched it, but when one of them were putting sales that they were making over the phone onto the website, so they were doubling up, the figures. So you might get get put in the heart attack and the COVID.
Well, as I say, but again,
potentially 3 different places.
Well, let me tell you, right? Because again, we did discuss this on both of the shows, right? Okay, if they were trying to fiddle the figures, why have they chosen to use the lowest possible explanation? Let's just take the UK as an example, right? Okay. They took 5,000 off the figures for no good reason at all. They gave you this crap about everyone's getting all like a few things. Everyone's doing 28 days after a test. It takes 5 weeks for you to die from this. So actually, 28 days is 4 weeks. So a lot of people in that who've died of COVID in the correct setting, because they died 5 weeks after the test, not 4 weeks, they're not getting included in the figures. Also, so they took 5,000 people off the thing because of the.
Where do you get that from? That this takes 5 weeks to kill you? So the 28-day thing, I mean, why would they not say?
Nobody bothered to look or into anything about this. We're 9 months into it. Where
is it from?
It's from numerous places. This is a disease. It's a novel disease that's being studied all over the world by innumerable laboratories. There's thousands and thousands of papers, loads of sources. I've never once gone to mainstream news. I've always just gone to like actual scientists and gone, well, what's going on with this? And read it. Get Kevin McCain on here. Get Kevin McCain on here. He will tell you all about this, right? Okay. This is what's so stupid. What annoys me about this is why I was getting across earlier, because it's like, oh yeah, this is bollocks, Like, have you looked at it? No, I ain't looked at anything. Right, brilliant. Well done. Congratulations on that one. I'm glad that we're being thorough. And so this is really, really just like stupid. Like, and it annoys me because nobody's bothered to check the counter argument. Is there an explanation for this, or is there a counter argument out there? Yeah, there is actually. And so when people bring up stuff like, oh, it's just swapping over the flu, it's like, well, it can't be, and we can check that. When people say stuff like, oh, it's only got a fatality rate of 1%. No, it hasn't. Let's check that. And when people say, oh, okay, it's only killing people over 82 and stuff like that, it's like. But there are a series of other problems, okay, surrounding that. Like if your hospitals are full, other people are going to die because they can't get operations and stuff like that. People are being already put on waiting lists and having things postponed. There is
my prosthetic. I can't get in because my prosthetic. I can't get in to get it changed. So I'm in my wheelchair and not able to get into to see because of this nonsense that's as far as I'm concerned, it is nonsense.
Right.
It is. I'm sure we'll have we've got second lockdown coming up, so I'm sure there'll be a lot more TikTok videos. I mean, they've got enough time for these TikTok videos and stuff like that, to show when they're talking about.
Hang on. I could show you footage of soldiers in the trenches dicking about. I suppose that no one died in the First World War then. That's your logic, Jason. If they've got time to fuck about in the trenches, they can't possibly be fighting Germans. Does Germany even exist? I've never even met a German.
That is way out there, man. That is way out there.
Go on, tell me how it's different.
Because it's completely different. It's completely different.
It's easy for you to explain how.
Well, because it is just a completely different thing. It is. Look, we're told the hospitals are at full capacity.
No, we weren't. No, we were never told that they're at full capacity.
We're told that they're overrun, right? That people are having their operations cancelled. People are not being diagnosed with things because they're not getting the appointments.
Yes. Why?
They're consequent. I saw a report. I don't know if it was true or not. But
the hospital's full of people who are being turned away.
I'll get another question. You get these.
Because again, that's another misnomer. It's a flawed premise. No one ever said that the hospitals were brimming. Like, the COVID wards in some areas were, and the problem is because of the isolation and the PPE and the separation involved, the rest of the hospital was told to basically shut down and move people out to
right, okay, fair enough. Right. Fair enough. But the beds that they've got set aside, I saw one, I think it was Bristol. That had 1,500 capacity. It was somewhere down there. And they said that they were overrun with COVID patients, that the COVID wards were full. But said when they asked how many COVID beds they'd got 8. So they've got 8 COVID beds out of 1,500. So they're saying the COVID ward's full. So essentially, they've got one section of a ward.
What did I literally just say seconds ago? Because of the infective nature of it and the procedures that they have to go, it means that basically they have to shut down huge swathes of the hospital to avoid to avoid the infection spreading. It basically has to be like almost hermetically sealed. And again, I'll say that. Is that really, really bad? Yes. Okay. Is that on purpose? Yes. Because the hospitals, this has been a problem with the NHS for years. People say, oh, there's thousands of beds. There's not the staff to cover them. They might have the beds. It's like that episode of Yes Minister, where basically, it's the best run hospital in the world because we've got no patients. And this is the problem. Again, this is the knock-on effect that is being felt by it. And again, if you watched any of those vlogs or those video diaries of people inside the
building, doesn't make any sense, though, does it? If it
doesn't. Well, it doesn't if you not
just have a listen to me. Just right. Just have a listen. Right. It doesn't make any sense because if, like you say, we've got the whole of the rest of the hospital and the 8-bed ward that they've got COVID patients in, they're having to hermetically seal it. I think the phrase that you used, right?
I didn't say that at all.
And the rest of the hospital
has to shut down.
Why are we told then that they're stretched to the limits? You know, they've obviously got nurses that could be on COVID wards.
They're not trained. Do you know what? They're not
trained for COVID.
What?
Were they trained during that event?
What do you want them to do? Most nurses go around changing sheets.
Is that what they were trained for COVID? So you've got trained nurses that train for COVID.
No, they're trained for emergency respiratory diseases and emergency responses and things like that. Like, so of course there's going to be people sat around doing stuff because we've told this is the problem. Imagine it in 3 parts, this hospital. One where COVID patients are, one where they don't want COVID patients, and one where there's other patients. Now, these patients from the middle part have either been told to go away, they've had operations postponed, or they've been sent out to satellite hospitals. Is that really badly run? Yes. Does that mean people are going to suffer? Yes. Is that a fault of the government? Yes. Why is that? Because the fucking poor sods were scraping around with no PPE at the beginning, having to buy it for themselves. There was no adequate procedure, and basically they were putting on hospitals to run it for themselves. And one of the major problems was that they didn't want COVID to spread out of the COVID ward via the staff to other areas. So you're either working in a COVID ward or you're not working in a COVID ward. Okay, so that's why you've got these people. And for God's sake, like, okay, I thought it was stupid and distasteful, but the idea that, again, the just because basically they're dicking around on TikTok for 5 minutes, trying desperately using some humor to try and get them through the day, means that they're all wankers. Like,
no, it don't mean they're all wankers, but you know, we're told that there's a pandemic. We're told
Yeah.
that we're off the feet. We're told that, right? But yeah, then these things come out. And it don't matter whether it's 2 or 3 or whatever. They're always the ones. And remember when people used to fucking stand and bang the pots and pans for NHS?
Yeah, it was trite, wasn't it?
Standing outside. But the poor woman who was diagnosed in February with cancer and told had a cancer treatment stopped and is dead, fucking dead now.
I know. It's bollocks, isn't it? I agree, 100%.
Why are we popping pots and pans? This NHS, which clearly don't give a fuck. They prefer to be doing fucking, you know, Titanic and fucking loads of them on a boat, on a thing in an empty fucking ward. These are the things. These are the reasons why people.
Because it's underfunded, because you voted for the fucking Tories because you thought you were going to get something out of Brexit, which you're not going to get, by the way. It's going to be no deal, which I said this 3 years ago and everyone called me a communist. And then we're going to get bummed by America, essentially. So, yeah, that's why, because it's massively, massively underfunded and it hasn't really got the capacity to deal with normal things, let alone a time of crisis. But that's because it's basically been defunded and slowly being privatized. Like, this is the point. Again, all of these problems existed before the pandemic. You put a very awkward problem, particularly with contagion, on top of that, and people suddenly, you know, have problems. I also welcome our reptilian overlords.
Yeah, look, the thing.
Come on, I thought people were going to ask me about the false positives and the PCR testing, Kerry Mullins, and all that crap.
No.
Oh, well, bloody hell.
No. Do you think? Right. Do you think that it is? As it is my, do you think it's my right to not wear a mask, to say that I'm not going to wear a mask and not wear a mask?
Well, it depends really, doesn't it? Like, I mean, is it my right to drive around drunk?
Yeah, well, I don't get that. That's just fucking cool. I mean, I'm not driving around drunk.
You really can't make the connection.
Sometimes
Okay, fair enough.
mobility scooter, but I won't say that's big driving. I said,
well, it depends really, isn't it? Like,
but I mean, to like, oof, you know, you're trying to, it goes from one to another.
Well,
you think it's my right to you're comparing my right to say no, I'm not going to wear a mask to my right to go around drinking and driving.
Well, the argument is that you might, unbeknownst to yourself and without any malice of forethought, hurt somebody.
Well, there is malice of forethought. If you get in the car, you know you're drunk. There is malice of forethought.
Well, what if you know you've been feeling a bit peaky and you just still don't want to wear a mask?
Well, if I'd felt a bit peaky, I wouldn't go out.
Well, then it doesn't matter, then, does it? Really?
Exactly. So it's my right to say no. I don't.
If you really want to, like, then yeah, fine. I think it's a bit stupid, and I don't understand the reasons why. What? Like, seriously, what's the reasons why?
The reasons why?
Yeah.
Well, because you look like a fucking idiot for a start.
You've got a Sheffield Wednesday top on.
Look, okay, all right, fair enough. I look like I don't mind looking like an idiot.
Messy, Jason.
But no, but it's. I don't want to conform. I don't want to conform. I thought there was something, right, and I'd seen something tangible, or heard something. I've got quite a wide group of friends, and I don't know anybody that's been affected by this at all, right? And I've got quite a, as you can understand, we've got, you know, nearly 1,600 subs. By the way, smash that subscribe button.
Absolutely.
You know what that reminds me? I've watched a couple of that, and I go, smash that subscribe button. And I remember one of my first computer lessons back in '80s, and we got one of these BBC computers, and the teacher had to, because it used to say to continue, hit any key, and he had to tell us not to actually hit any key, but just to press it. He actually had to tell us. So always fun, always fun. Jesus Christ. Yeah, you can understand why people. You can understand why people.
Of course, I can.
They are, can't you?
Yeah.
You can get
No,
that.
of course, I 100% understand. The only thing I don't understand is the sort of reticence to hear the other side at all. And again, everyone's probably going to be saying, "Oh, Neil's just falling for the government propaganda," which is ironic because, as I say, I bet you've all been spreading Sunita Gupta and Carl Hennigan and the Barrington Declaration and the idea of herd immunity, which is directly and provably government propaganda. But let's not dwell on that. And that's not true at all. I've taken my experience of it from my personal experience. I know people have caught it. I know people that have lost family members to it. I know people that worked in COVID wards and that are currently working in COVID wards and are getting a bit edgy again. And will it go mental? Hopefully not. Hopefully not. To be quite honest. But yeah, I just don't want people to
third wave.
You what, mate?
Did you see a third wave? I saw some that suggesting that there were going to be a third wave from February to April. I don't know what that we're on. And by the way, I've got some of the things that you know, them pictures you've sent. I've got them in all set. If you want me, ever to put any up.
It's up to you. I don't really mind. I wasn't sending them. I was just sending them to chat to you. I can't even remember which pictures were on about. To be quite honest.
We just we know we get people on. There's propaganda on both sides. So whether you're a masker or a non-masker, there we go. We can put ourselves into
a car crash outside my house. 2 seconds.
Go on then. I think there's been one on this show.
Yes, there's been a car crash outside.
Oh, oh, take thing up. Let's have a look.
No, it's not my car. Carry on.
No one's dead or out, are they?
No, I don't think so.
No, they fixed it.
Yeah, he can't do his.
All right, the lad on the road banged into the car, the bloke from a couple of doors up. It's all right, it'll be fine.
He was probably pissed. Or got COVID.
Yeah, potentially.
Is that, they'll have died of COVID. There'll be COVID. Not only car crashes on the show, but also off the show. We've got side car crashes here on Raconteurs News tonight. Don't forget to smash.
He was probably listening. That was what distracted him. He was listening, Jason. He was so enthralled.
Well, it must be. Yeah. It's probably one of people that. Let's have a look. See how many thumbs downs we've got. We had
thousands. I would imagine. I thought, Colin, hit me with some of these questions, man, because maybe then people will understand my position a bit more.
I've actually, I think we've covered. I think we've covered what. Why does he always trust government and media that are proven liars? And
this is the point. I don't at all. In fact, as I said, I bet you're actually trusting media and government. I bet you're listening to arguments that come from the Barrington Declaration, Murdoch Media, Barclay Brothers Media, Talk Radio. I bet they've come from Carl Hennigan, and this is all behavioural insight and nudge unit. Like this is the point. I've not once gone along with the government. The only figures I use are the same figures that everyone else is using. Because can you believe, to get official stats, you have to go to the official source. There isn't another source for official stats. That's why they call it.
Don't mean you can trust official stats, though, does it?
Well, then why are people using them for the counter argument? You can't whip it out and say, like, oh, hang on, like for the yearly, however many people died from flu, and then when I say, well, okay, fine, like this is the stats that prove that's a moot point, go, well, all of a sudden I don't trust stats. Like, you trusted stats literally 4 seconds ago when you were trying to prove me wrong.
I was just saying,
Not you. I'm talking in general terms, Jason.
If you trusted the stats, if you trust the stats from the government.
They're not from the government.
And also as we were talking about, nobody dies of COVID. So how come we've had so many COVID deaths? Right? Nobody dies from flu. Are they all put together in this guy had
well, even if they were, Jason, it still doesn't explain away the excess death, which is basically the more people have died than expected this year over the 5-year average. And as I say, in the UK it's about 70,000, in America it's about 300,000. That's more than died, and we've still got December to go, November, December, sorry. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But that again includes not only people who've died as a direct result of COVID or whatever, but all the people that basically have died from all the other failures on the part of the government. And so that's the more accurate thing. I thought you were going to ask me all these questions about how the test wasn't accurate and it gives 93%.
I never said I was going to.
That's what we discussed. Like, you got it in the thing.
I didn't. I said, I told you what I said. I said, this is what I want you to explain, right? We all want, this is actually what I said. Because you made a comment about if Trump wins.
Right.
And somebody also asked if you would be voting for Trump or Biden.
No, I'm English.
If
they frown on it if I vote on
it. If you would.
What?
If you would.
No, I wouldn't. Like, because they're both terrible. Like, and now here's an interesting thing. Like, what I think Trump will win, to be honest. I actually think Trump will win. Because Biden's just shite, isn't he? He's terrible. Like, but Trump is terrible too. I think it'd be better if Biden wins, because then at least we can all go back to going, fine, we understand, we hate the government now, and we can get rid of all these people who for some reason think that Trump's on the side of the little person. Like, but here's the thing, like, I suspect that Trump will win because he's still got the backing of the think tanks and the billionaires and such in the oil industry and big pharma and all of these things. But here's the other thing. He's essentially done everything that they asked him to do. Like, Trump had to audition in front of a think tank called the Council for National Policy. The Council for National Policy is so powerful that basically they can control who gets the nomination. And in the past, when people have been put forward for the nomination that they didn't actually like, for example, Rudy Giuliani, they created the scenario whereby they were going to break away and basically just destroy the Republican Party. They literally have that much lobbying power. And Donald Trump had to audition in front of them in order to get their blessing to be the candidate. And basically, Mike Pence is a member of this, and Kellyanne Conway and Steve Bannon and the Mercers who initially backed Donald Trump, they're all members of this think tank. And so there's another think tank called the Heritage Foundation, which every year produces a document called the Mandate for Leadership. And it's basically it's a series of policies produced by the richest and most powerful people in America. These are, again, the oil lobbyists, the bankers, the sort of multi-millionaire and trillionaire sort of legacy families, and they tend to be right-wing, and they tend to be evangelical Christian. Not all, but they tend to be of that ilk. And they write these policies that they want Donald Trump or whoever is the president to do. And, like, sometimes they're very successful, sometimes they're not. They've got Donald Trump to basically do about 75–80% of the policies that they suggested, which is basically flooding the Treasury with their members, flooding all the sort of administrative positions of the government with their members, putting certain people in as senators, putting in the judges that have been, it was Kavanaugh that they were particularly pushing, and the woman whose name escapes me, the Amy woman. He's rolled back environmental rights. He's rolled back, environmental protections. You can now, companies in America can dump cancer-causing pollutants directly into groundwater or rivers that will later become drinking water. He's also rolled back workers' protections. He's rolled back protections for people in sort of crime scenarios, and he gave the wealthiest people in America a 25% tax cut, and that includes himself and his family and all his family's businesses. Gave them a 25% tax cut. So here's the thing. Donald Trump has pretty much done everything that they wanted him to do. There's not an awful lot left that they wanted him to do, other than maybe sort of like invade Iran. And Steve Bannon and Mike Pence have also been knocking around for years the idea that they want to go to war with China. And because basically of the coronavirus thing like that, it is entirely possible that as a response to sort of pick the economy up after all this crap sort of sorted, and they might sort of blame China and, you know, have a crack at having a war with China.
Yeah, I mean, that's been on cards. I mean, that's been spoke about anyway since about 2006.
Yeah, but yeah, this is the point. They were telling sort of like recruits at West Point and stuff like that to get ready. We're going to have a war, like a ground war with China in the next, like, I forget what the timescale was, but it's, you know, it was during the Trump presidency, basically.
Oh, if it's a ground war, you know, it's a fake war, don't you?
Well, people still die, you know, so.
Of course, yeah, but it's people still die. I'm not saying they don't. I'm just saying it's a fake war. It's not real war. If there's a ground war, if there's a proper war, you want to wipe out somebody else, you just do it. You just nuke, and so it's just like, just then all the world goes to fucking.
Well, it's an economic thing, isn't it? This is the point. It's not, you know, that there's no point. Well, I mean, who knows? They might well.
Because I say it's a fake war. I mean, you say, yeah, well, I don't mean people don't die. I'm not the one fucking sending anybody to war. I'm not. No. I don't want anybody to die. I don't want anybody to go to war. But you know, it's a reality that if there was a ground war, I can understand a proxy war that being fought somewhere else, like North Korea, maybe even. Or South Korea, the proxy war with China. I can see that happening, but I can't see there being any war, because the first thing they'd be doing, particularly Trump fans, would be saying, "All right, we're at war with China. Why the fuck are we not nuking them? Where's the bombs all gone?" Well, that's what they'd be saying, not realizing that saying that would be, you know, signing their own death warrant.
Well, yeah, but you know. Like, so is basically a lot of the things that Trump has already done. It's going to be massively detrimental effects of people because of again, like, you know, pumping of chemicals into water and stuff like that, and no one cares. They'll figure out a way to say, oh no, it's part of his 5D chess plan to make us all immune to mercury or something, like, so, you know. But I mean, hey, I don't know. Like, I'm just going off what Steve Bannon and Mike Pence have been saying. Like, that's what they've been saying basically. There's, like, you know, they really want a war with China for some reason.
Right. Well, how do you fancy taking some calls?
Yeah, well, if you like. Yeah, it's just gonna be abuse, but
yeah, because if anybody's abusive, they'll be taken off.
Like, but yeah, like, seriously, if anybody's, I really wish that people would actually ask questions around, like, because I know that people are, like, because I know who's in the chat, like, and I know that I've seen on your Facebook and stuff, you've got, like, questions about the validity of the testing, and questions about whether the virus has actually been isolated, or in fact can be proven to exist, and freedom of information requests, and how many cycles that they use. And whether recently they found that they'd only got 37 base pairs and that they created the rest through a computer, or the fact that it could only infect poisoned monkey kidneys or something like that. Like, okay, because, like, again, this is the point. I've looked into all of these things, and this is why my position's potentially contrary to others, because I don't. There's explanations for all of these things, and a lot of them are based on lie.
Yeah, I don't think you make many friends by saying, well, that's just stupid, and this is just stupid, and that's just stupid. But
No, you're probably right. I apologise.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah, you can call
No,
me.
it's not. No, you're right. Like that. That's shitty of me. That's wrong. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, we've got somebody coming on. I'm going to only do this one at a time, and if you're abusive, then you're going to be cut straight off.
Okay.
Here we go. We've got somebody called CUBT. Good evening, CUBT.
Hello, how's it going?
All right.
Hey,
Yeah.
Can't show me face, I'm on the run.
All right.
Good lad.
Here, Neil,
Hello.
the vac? Neil, you're going to have the vaccine when it comes out?
No, mate. No, I think he's being rushed. I don't think there's any way that it could be safe. And no.
There you go. Anything else, CUBT?
And I'm very aware again, like these are the other angles. Like I'm not silly. Like I'm very aware that, like, you know, pharmaceutical companies are going to make hay when the sun shines. Disaster capitalists are going to make hay while the sun shines, and, you know, steal up people's property, etc. Like it's a really, really shit, like, state of affairs. But again, like, these are all different issues.
What?
Sorry, mate. What are you saying?
Right, yeah. No, but can I ask you another question?
Of course.
Yeah, I was going to say, so what about all these nurses that sort of come forward and, like, you know, they make these videos and they say, like, you know, like what they've seen, and, like, you know, like I got to fucking tell you.
Like potential whistleblowers. Well, I mean, you'd have to take it by each one, to be quite honest, mate. Like, and some of them basically, like, so I mean, for example, that Louise Hampton or whatever, and she did this sort of certificate of bollocks and stuff like that. Like, she's been caught a couple of times, like, posted, like, she'd live streamed something, someone had recorded it, she didn't realize they were recording it, and then she'd delete that video and then put up some stuff basically saying, like, oh, this happened and this happened and this happened, and basically just massively over dramatizing it, obviously, you know, to get sort of attention and stuff like that. She did that certificate of bollocks saying that she didn't know anybody that had got COVID or anything like that. But if you actually go on her Twitter timeline, you can find out that her mum had it, and she was concerned, and she said that she had it, and was, you know, saying that before. So I don't know. Like, it very much depends. There was that woman in Florida that was basically that did this thing saying, oh, the woman's been tested for COVID 3 times, and the 2 negatives have come up, but she's still on the COVID ward. And she basically is connected to again, a Coke Industries, Vernon Common. Okay, we can get on to Vernon Common. Oh, you might get to use your picture, Jason. Like, she basically she was lying. She just misunderstood how it works. Basically, like, what happened with that is it basically highlights the false negative of the PCR, that you can be swabbed twice, but basically that's they actually rely. They actually a blood test in order to, and then it was a political thing with it.
You sound like a politician.
Huh?
I mean, I forgot what I even asked you.
You asked me about the whistleblowers and nurses, and I was explaining that basically the ones that were there were really, most of them were telling lies for attention. I gave you 2 examples.
Why has everyone got these masks on? When everyone's wearing this mask, it's almost like everyone's wearing a mask, so it must be real, right? If everyone switched the TV off as well, would everyone sort of think that they were living in, and they took the masks off?
Well, I don't know, because I've not been watching the news, but I still happen to know a couple of people that have caught it, like, who live near me. So I mean, that doesn't really work. Like, I've not been watching
masks. It looks like there's a pandemic, right?
Okay.
You don't think so? So it's almost like it's a prop in a theatrical production. You know, it's like
Well,
everyone's
yeah.
got a mask on. We're acting out a pandemic here. You know,
Mhm.
so you've all got the masks on. So everyone's looking at everyone with the masks on. So it must be real, yeah? Is that how it works?
No, no, that's not really how it works, is it? Like the mask.
Yeah.
No,
We've all
that's
got
maybe asked backwards, mate. Like, why do you think that the fact that people are wearing? I get what you're saying. It highlights the idea that there's a
nobody in my
pandemic.
street, right? There's nobody in
Yeah,
my street that
I understand.
and died,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It
I
gives
know
the
loads
impression
of
that there's a
people
pandemic going on.
right? So
Yeah.
if everyone switched the telly off and took the masks off, they wouldn't really know that there was a pandemic, would they?
No, but I've just explained to you that I've not got my information from the telly. Like I've
Well,
got my information from speaking to people who actually caught it, who actually worked in the hospitals, who actually worked in the care homes, not over the internet, face to face. I've spoken to these people, and I
you
can
see
put
the
you in touch with
video
them.
with the bloke, Jason Lalatos. He's a Welsh geezer. He does like YouTube stuff. He interviews
Yeah.
people. I think you know him, don't you?
No.
He's a Welsh bloke. He's got his hair tied back in a ponytail. He's a Welsh bloke, Jason Lalatos. I don't know his name. Like,
Yeah,
No,
he's
no, no.
Cornwall. He's one of them who's like an artist, you know, and he
a shop in Wales.
oh yeah.
He recently interviewed a nurse, and she was speaking about her hospital down in Dorset or somewhere. I don't know where it was, but he
Yeah,
was
Dorset
saying,
never really had it. Yeah, that's the southwest. Like Dorset really didn't get affected by it.
I know what your point
But
is.
which fine. But I could introduce you to a nurse from Derby Hospital who would tell you the exact opposite.
It's almost like an intelligent virus. It sort of attacks certain places, like like up Scotland, it goes up there a lot. Up north, it loves like Liverpool. Down in Bristol, don't want to know Bristol or Bath or you know what I mean. These places, different places, it don't like to go.
Well, yeah, it's a bit like malaria, isn't it? Like, I mean, malaria, we don't get a lot of malaria in Nottingham. So I'm going to assume that malaria can't possibly exist because I've never, ever, ever once seen anybody have it. Never once at the hospital. Malaria
You got
case.
malaria over here?
Huh?
Is there malaria in Britain? Is there ever was?
No, I don't think so. So,
no, I'm not talking about the rest of the world, right? I'm talking about Britain, right? Not malaria.
Okay, Ebola. There's been cases of Ebola in England. None that I've seen. Probably doesn't exist.
That's another thing. Why did they bring that woman over in the airplane? Remember those years ago? They had the big tent, and they was all in their big outfits, and they all like made a big thing on the news about it. Scared the shit out of everyone, like, you know what I mean? Because that's what it was really about, wasn't it?
Well, no, why? To what purpose?
What, bringing one person back over here, get them a bit of treatment?
No. What was the point of scaring everybody? I assume they were bringing her back to, like, take her to a hospital where they had sort of care or whatever.
Visions of, like, scary things. This is what I do anyway. You don't think that there's anything psychological going on with this?
Of course there is, and this is the problem, because basically that's the point of the news media.
You turn around and you say that you don't believe the government, and then you're on about how you read papers, and you sort of say this is all factual, but the government lies. Yeah. Make up your mind.
Well, where the papers don't come from the government.
Yes,
do you think
so the papers?
I can give me your email, my dude, and I will send you this, and you'll see how they're nothing to do with the government.
I think he's talking about the statistics.
Oh, the statistics. Well, that's kind of where you get statistics from. Like, you can't get statistics from anywhere else.
With the statistics, why do they have to say that someone died of COVID when they didn't really? They died of something else.
They don't. Well, I think you're misunderstanding the IO71 and IO72.
Had heart attacks. Their loved ones have had heart attacks. They put it down as COVID-19. Why do they have to do that? Oh, I know, because we're in the middle of a pandemic. Yeah.
Well, again, there's several points to that, right? Okay, that would only happen if basically they've been tested with a blood test and died in a hospital setting. And as you probably know, because I'm sure you've looked into how the disease actually works, it's an immune suppressant. Yeah, it's a bit like this would actually affect
life sort of symptoms. You can't breathe.
So what?
Pardon?
Sorry, again? I missed that. Sorry.
Well, what I think, I just think people are dying because they're dying, right? These people, these statistics, all these people have died because they have died, right?
Well, that is true, mate. Like, I can't deny that. They have died because they've died.
COVID, right?
Right.
You think
okay, fine. Okay, fine. All right, fair enough. Okay. So what have they died of? And why have they died in such numbers?
Prince Charles catch COVID from?
What?
Where did Prince Charles catch COVID?
I don't fucking know.
1,000 acre,
I don't really knock about with him that much. Not recently.
Tell me.
Sorry?
If it's real, how did Prince Charles catch it? Or did he flog us the ideal that it was real?
Is how does that even make sense? If it's real, how did Prince Charles catch it? What does that even mean?
No, the point is, how did he get it? I mean, what if it's so real? How? You're good.
I'm sorry, mate. Wind back. I'm missing. I'm missing the point on this.
How did he catch COVID?
How did he catch it?
Yeah, well, I mean, is he mixing with like the public? What is it?
Well, I don't know, actually, to be honest. I've no idea what his schedule was around February or March. We could probably have a look.
He had it as well, didn't he? Back in April, he got to tell everyone. Did you read that?
Well, he probably got it off his dad.
Yo, bullshit, man. What, does he have a fucking sex?
What? I don't know.
Eh?
How would I know?
Why have you got to wash your hands all the fucking time as well with sanitizer? Why is that? What, does it penetrate the skin, do it?
Well, no, it's to get rid of the germs on your hands.
Why?
Because germs
penetrate your skin. I just said that.
Right. So I'm sorry, I've been being polite, but I've only got a certain threshold. Why are we washing our hands?
Yeah,
sorry, my guy. Are you one of these sort of germ theory guys that doesn't believe in germs, or?
No, I do believe in germs.
Right. So you understand that washing your hands gets rid of germs?
I'm trying to say to you, they're telling people to put sanitizer on the hands. Does COVID penetrate the skin?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think it stays on the skin. I think the sanitizer kills it.
I know what it is, because they're little children and they've got to keep putting their hands in their mouths, yeah? So they don't mind the taste of sanitizer, yeah? So why did they put it on their hands?
I didn't, mate, you went a bit gloopy there. I missed everything. You said something about children.
What?
No, we couldn't hear you.
Why are they putting it on their hands? This is just a point I'm trying to make.
Why are they putting sanitizer on their hands?
Yeah.
Because if you coughed or sneezed onto your hands, you might then transfer that onto surfaces and such where people will put their hands and then they might put it on their face.
Or they might put it. How about telling everyone to just not put their hands in their face, right?
Well, you could do, but like, I mean, Jason's doing it right now. Jason, stop it! No,
I'm not a child, right? Well, what is it? Oh, they have to treat us like children. That's my point, yeah? Because we can't.
Hang on, dude, you've literally just said, why don't we just tell people to stop touching their face?
Yeah.
Isn't that treating people like children?
Well,
what is your massive problem with people washing their hands?
What is my massive problem? Because I don't see the link between that and COVID.
Oh, well, it's because basically you sneeze onto your hands and then the germs then onto a surface. So
you're talking about the curve all the time. Well, actually, the curve has gone down. Now it's gone back up. How many times are we going to go up and down?
What?
When's it going away then? Or when they bring the
going away? I don't know. Probably when they start out some sort of like measures. I mean, it's gone away in Vietnam. It's gone away in New Zealand.
I'll tell you when it's going to go away. It's going to go away when the government tells us it's gone away. That's how it works. All right.
Right. Okay. Why has it gone away in like New Zealand?
When they convinced everyone that they've got us all where they want us, right? They're going to get on the internet. This is what's 5G for? Not because it's irrelevant whether it's good for our health or not. That's not the point. The point is.
Sorry, we're talking about 5G now.
Yeah, 5G, because this is what it's all linked, and you know it. Of course it is.
Right.
What you're trying to say? They don't want us all on the internet, like more than ever now.
You're on the internet now, my G.
Yeah, I know. I don't mind.
We've just got a tracking device in it and a recording device. What?
I don't mind dial-up. We don't need 5G, thank you very much. All right, we don't need massive amounts of data flying around this planet, right? We've got these 5G masts everywhere now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. You know what it is? Why is it all being promoted to do cash? You know, cashless, contactless sort of transactions.
Because these mega corporations are going to make huge amounts of money from that, and I don't agree with the cashless society.
So they're making loads of money out of it as well, then, is it? Out of a fake.
That's why they're sort of promoting their products. Yeah, that's sort of how capitalism works.
At the time the virus comes into effect on this planet, that they're rolling 5G, right?
What? Sorry, what?
To do with that, would it?
I don't. Well, then why is it in places that don't have 5G?
Why? Because they've probably been told a cock and ball story that some geezer's got COVID wherever that is, right?
Right.
The test, you want to talk about the test, right? It's inaccurate. They told us it's inaccurate on the
Oh,
television.
brilliant! Somebody's done it. Excellent. Good. Please.
Chat away.
Go on,
Please. Chat away like a prime minister. Go on.
No, they didn't. Now, here's the thing. Good, brilliant. I'm glad that somebody's brought this up because I'm aching to say this shit. Like, yeah, there was two things, basically. One thing that happened was Dominic Raab came on and basically said, oh, we're not testing in the airports because they're only going to give us a 7% response. And basically what that was him lying and responding by being put on the spot, saying, why aren't we testing people coming into the airports? And why? Hang on, shush. No, my dude, like, come on, be fair. Like, and basically, so he said, oh, well, only 7% of people that come through will get tested. And A, that's a lie. And B, what he was saying was that basically we won't catch that many people because we don't have the testing capacity. And a lot of people sort of jumped on that and said, well, basically, my dude, if you please be fair. What?
Do you advise? Who's this bloke you're on about?
The Foreign Secretary.
Yeah, what's his name?
Dominic Raab.
Right. Do you advise him? So you know what he's thinking then, do you? You know what he does, yeah?
Yeah, he's on film.
He's on film?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you believe him, do you?
What? No, I don't believe him. That's what. Are you not listening? Like, that's Jason, what the fuck, my dude?
I don't know.
I'll just okay, shall I? Like, right. So anyway, so Dominic Raab basically said that like we'll only get 7%, and a lot of people jumped on this and basically said, well, this means that the tests are only 7% accurate, and this coincided with two people who are connected to the Barrington Declaration, which
hang on,
shush.
Right. So how accurate? If it's not 7%, what is it then?
It's got a 30% false negative rate.
So what does that mean?
It means that 30% of the time it will miss the detection of the disease.
So 70% accurate then, is it?
Yeah.
70% accurate. So why, in the middle of a pandemic, is 80% of the public, which is their words, asymptomatic? So there's nothing wrong with them, yeah?
That's not what asymptomatic means at all. It means that you have the disease present and you can pass it on to people, but you don't show symptoms.
Yeah, that's what I just said. You've got no symptoms. So 80%.
That's not what you said. What you said was a misunderstanding of the phrase asymptomatic. But carry on.
So how many healthy people, right, are there living in the UK? Seeing you know everything, right?
What the fuck are you on about there? Like,
yeah.
How many healthy people living in the UK?
How many healthy people? How the fuck would I know? What's that got to do with anything?
Because you know everything.
Well,
how many
shit, you found my one for knowledge of the particular demographic of healthy people
who are liable to go with COVID through being unhealthy or living in the UK.
What?
Listen, right? So how many people have died from COVID who have been healthy?
How many people who've died from COVID who have been healthy?
Yeah.
I've no idea. What would you describe as healthy? Would you describe healthy as living?
What? No, healthy There's nothing wrong with them, that don't exist.
What do you mean? Nothing
Everyone-
wrong with it. So are you saying? Can I just clarify? Are you saying that if someone say got diabetes or a heart condition like Jason, that they should die?
No, I don't think so, mate. I never said that.
Then I'm misunderstanding your position because carry
How
on.
many healthy people have died of COVID?
No one's healthy when they die. They're dead.
Not saying that. How many people who have been healthy and then
Yeah.
catch COVID die?
Yeah, I don't know.
You don't know.
No.
There's something you want to fucking do some research about then. There's something you don't.
I think the one thing that you've got to is you can't.
Go on, enlighten us.
He doesn't do his research. Listen, Cup of Tea, it's been fantastic speaking to you. It has been real. It's been awesome. Thanks for phoning in, and please phone in again.
No, it's all right. It's all right. It's all right. Don't worry.
I won't. Right, Jason, for the love of Christ, let me explain this before you put superb leads on, right? Okay. And then what a lot of other people have been pointing about, right, okay, is this idea that the PCR tests give a 90% false positive rate. And this came directly from a person called Mike Yeadon, and it's bullshit. Do you want to know how he worked that out? And this is true because basically this is how he explained it. What he said was, according to government statistics, 0.1% of the population has been infected with COVID. But when we take any given testing centre, more than that test positive. So he rounded it down and said that basically, like, well, weirdly, at testing centres, about 1% of people test positive. But against the national percentage of people who are likely to have it, that's 9.9% higher. And this is a thing called Bayes' theorem, which is a statistical trick that is used by basically people who want to cheat. And so he said, because of that, because we're getting more than the expected, more than the national average at testing centres, that must prove false positives. It's bollocks. It's literally bollocks. Like what he's saying, like, because what it's saying is that basically, like, he's missing the point that you're testing the entire population against people who are going to get a test, which is a far smaller group of people. And so he's essentially saying, if we test 100,000 people and we suspect that 1,000 of those tests might be wrong, if of those 100,000 people, only 1,100 people test positive, we know that it's a 90% false positive rate. Now, be honest, does that sound like what? I don't even understand that. Because if it does, then you've nailed it, because it's nonsense. That never happened. It's a statistical trick, and it has no bearing in reality or fact. So that's where.
Look, you've just spoken for the last couple of minutes since our last guest left.
Sorry,
you know what? I'm completely lost as to what we were. Yeah, the false positive thing. You've explained that before, though, haven't you? You've explained that before.
I don't think I did, but well, I may have done. Like, but that's what your man was talking about. So I felt, it's fair that I answered his question.
Right. Okay. So that question answered. Thank you very much, Eve of Destruction. I think that's so. It was who came on. Cup of Tea. We've got Sir Super of Leeds here. Good evening, Sir Super of Leeds. How are you, my friend?
Good evening. How are you?
Hello, mate.
Very well. What you got to say to our friend Neil Sanders?
Nice to meet you, Neil.
Hello, mate.
All right. I'm not going to have a go at you.
Okay.
I might disagree with what you say.
Okay.
But you've got balls to come back up. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
I'll give you that. Good. I also, I nearly died of flu when I was 25.
Yeah.
So I disagree with you on that.
With regards to what?
You can't die from flu, I think.
Okay, fair enough. It's really more about how it's written on the death certificate. Flu as itself causes the thing that causes you to die. It's just about the people's misunderstanding about how death certificates are written. I have no doubt that flu was very, very bad for you, and I'm very glad to hear that you overcame it.
And Max Huggins just put on, I must say, I've got to admire your balls. I can't remember, that's a line from
Well, maybe later.
sitcom, innit? I can't, can you remember which sitcom it is?
Yes, Blackadder 4. And then he says, well, maybe later. That's why
it. Yeah, got to admire your balls. Well, perhaps later.
maybe later. Well, tap me up on the gram.
There's loads of stuff going on in the chat room tonight. Yeah, but Leeds, super Leeds. What do you want me to show that thing that you
Lions, yeah. You flashed it up earlier.
I flashed one
Get
up.
Lions up.
I don't think it were. I think it were. You couldn't really see it, so I'll do that one instead.
No, we did. You flashed all three up. There's one that's 4 cats. Oh,
What's this?
that's the 2. That's 2 meters, Neil.
Oh, right. Two lions. That's mental.
2 lions on top of each other.
Yeah, but this is the point. The government have been shit throughout this whole thing. They've been totally contradictory with their messaging, and they've not helped anybody. Like, and this is my point, right? That I think a lot of people might miss, right? Okay, I'm not saying that people died because the virus. This is my point. None of these people should have died. They've
4
died
cats.
because
Sorry,
government.
that's
4 cats. That's
4
ridiculous.
cats. In a lion, a cat.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's bigger. Like,
It's still a cat, isn't it?
you probably could fit 2 cats in one lion. So it's probably accurate, but it's still stupid, mate. I'm well with you on this one. Like, this again. This is my point. Like, I'm not saying, oh no, the virus is terrifying, that's why people died. I'm saying the virus was easily solvable, and they fucked about because they wanted to protect their business interests, the big business interests. And none of these people should have died, and we really need to hold the government to account for this.
Sorry, I keep fucking flashing things up.
Are you looking at porn again?
Pussycats. I mean, there were one that were sheep as well, weren't there? They were 2.5 rams, were it?
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Again,
Oh, that was my one. That were down in Midlands, was it, somewhere?
I think so. I don't know, but it's just it don't half add fucking fuel to fire, doesn't it? I know we're coming up to bonfire, mate.
100%. And again, particularly if you'd come from the perspective, like as you say, that it's been exaggerated. They're lying about this. They're swapping this over. Maybe even it doesn't exist, etc., etc., etc. Then I can totally get your perspective. Like, but this is the point. A lot of your assumptions are potentially based on flawed data or something that there is actually an explanation for. And this is the truth movement, as I say. Like, we're supposed to find the truth, no matter how uncomfortable that is. And they say, we also basically been completely messed up because a load of people have jumped on this. So you're telling you exactly what you want to hear, and you're making a lot of money out of it.
Yes, well, I'm not making a lot of money.
No, am I?
Fucking.
You lend me a tenner.
Wish I could.
But if you want to donate, on a postcard, it is that there is a lot of it about. There's a lot of it about. What do you make to protesting?
I don't know. There's something a bit cagey about the protest because they're being linked. Like, it appears to basically been. Do you know who Greg Mappin is? Greg Mappin's a Scientologist that's basically a big QAnon sort of pusher, and he runs Turning Point UK in the in England. Like, Turning Point is a Coke Industries propaganda arm, just unapologetically propaganda for Coke Industries. and they were connected with the setting up of the protests, essentially the ones in Trafalgar Square. The chap like it was connected to this. It's weird, basically. This Scientologist that knows Greg Mappin, that's connected to a company that had two other Scientologists in it. One of them basically spoke called Lord McNair, who very much appears to be a spy, and basically was doing things like human rights work in United Arab Emirates and Egypt, places where they don't actually have human rights. It looks like he's basically pushing torture over there. So I understand people sort of like want to go to these marches and stuff like this and whatever. Like, if you want to do that, that's fine. I don't tell you what to do. I didn't agree with what they were saying, to be quite honest. I don't like, with what any of the speakers are saying. So I go to them. If people want to go to them, that's fine. There's something weird going on with as I say, and it ties in with this connection to the sort of the big business think tanks who are pushing this concept that the virus isn't as serious as it might be, or basically the lockdown is killing more people than that. There's something to do with big business and think tanks that everyone's missing, like and people have been, they've been sold down the river on this, and I don't trust these people to not the people. I don't trust the think tanks, so I'm wary of it.
Yeah. And just the last couple of minutes, we've got just give us your prediction for the presidential election.
Sorry, what?
I said your prediction for the election, the presidential election.
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I wouldn't be at all surprised if Trump won, to be quite honest. Biden's rubbish, like absolutely useless. Like everything would suggest that basically Trump should lose because he's been just terrible, corrupt president. But I don't understand. I don't know. He seems to, people still seem to like him for whatever reason. Like, it doesn't matter how many times you basically show what he's doing and who he's actually been put in by and these connections to intelligence agencies and all of this sort of stuff. Like, for some reason, people seem to have a bit of a blind spot with that. And so, like, you may well carry it on. Like I said, Billy Ray Valentine reckons that if he doesn't win, that he's going to start up some sort of like news empire, so like telling the truth, like the truth media, and then basically push his son to go for the presidency. So again, this is the point. Presidents are just they're all just figureheads for powerful think tanks, and Biden will be crap too, like, to be quite honest. So it's a very shit situation. It's really, really rubbish. We don't have to end now, mate. Like, I know we've been doing 2 hours. If there's rabid people who want to ask questions, I'm quite happy to chat to people. Like,
well, I need to get myself a drink because I'm parched.
Oh, you lightweight. I'm messing, mate.
Well, Apple Charlotte says, has Neil researched Agenda 2130?
Not really, no, to be quite honest. Like, I've seen bits and bobs, but it's not really my milieu. So if anyone wants to send me some stuff about that, I'm very happy to look into it.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's great research as well. I don't quite understand what that is at the minute. Like, I'd like to do, if people could send me some stuff explaining what the hell it is. It seems to be around sort of like automation, and people keep saying, oh, this is the new world order. And I'm like, okay, but how does it work? I don't understand how it works. It seems shit, obviously. Like, it seems like, but I don't understand it. I honestly don't understand it at the minute, or what it actually is.
Have you ever, in your past, suggested that perhaps, on any other interviews or anything you've written, suggested that they might introduce a virus as a means of control?
I don't know. I don't think so. Like, I don't think so. Like,
listen, I'm not jumping on you. I'm just asking. It's it's not.
No. And again, like, my particular take on it is that it was released accidentally in October from the lab. It's not a bioweapon per se. It's a gain of function, which is basically a tinkered with virus. It's like sort of virus and steroids, which is why it's so sort of selective in what it does, really. And this is taken from a chap called Kevin McCann, who's excellent and you should have on. And he's basically there's a bit of a blackout there essentially around October, and it looks like the lab was shut down for whatever reason, and that seems plausible to me. Like, I wouldn't be at all surprised if that was when it was, particularly because basically you get into sort of incidents of people saying that, oh, I'm sure I had that in December, and I'm sure I had that before it was officially well, even before it was officially released and officially sort of found to exist, and before it was officially found. Do you know what I mean? So like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be at all surprised by that, to be quite honest.
Just just so, because I know you've been at it for a long time. It's just something that I wonder whether you'd ever thought about or suggested that might happen. It'd be interesting.
Again, don't get me wrong, Jason. No, I can get the scenario, and I can understand why people will be very wary of it and assume that would be the case. And again, I don't like. For example, I'm sure I have said this on the previous things. It's like things like the Lockstep document and the Rockefeller document. I don't, and the event tour one, for example. I don't think that particularly makes a strong case that they planned this. I don't think that's true, because basically then it's you're saying the same thing as like, well, I know who burned down the school. It was the bloody fire brigade, because every month they would run a fire drill. Like, it's just because they've pointed out the potential for this problem doesn't. No, hang on. But no, hang on.
No. That's ridiculous. They are a fire crew are there to deal with fires. You can't.
The pandemic response groups are there to deal with fucking pandemics. Right, if you'd let me finish my fucking point, right, there's about 9 different scenarios in in all those different sort of documents. So there was 4 in Lockstep, and in the other one there was different. There was a series of other ones. Only one of them fucking came true. Okay, does that mean that all the other ones have got to come true? No. But what I will say is perfectly plausible is that when this scenario came about, a disease, a virus going, that they went, wicked, pull out Lockstep, we're going to use Lockstep. That basically they reacted to it with the plan that they had in their back pocket. That's perfectly plausible. It doesn't prove that it was pre-planned.
Well, anyway, I think that I've got to disagree. I just don't. I don't.
Why did it pre-planned then?
Sorry?
Well, go on then. Expand on your disagreement. I'm willing to be persuaded.
I don't think that if there is a virus, I don't think it's anything like. I think it's just flu. It's just a strain of flu. Just listen. You asked me.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm telling you, but what they've done is it was almost.
Do you know anyone who's dying? Oh,
God.
Do I know anyone who's died of it? Yes, I do.
We've already gone through this, Leeds, man.
Who? 12 people.
We've already gone through it.
Friends of mine. But I live in Nottingham. I know you work in Sheffield. I live in Nottingham and I work in Sheffield, and I've got a lot of friends who, from my work, who live in Rotherham, and we also live close to Derby, where there's all the care homes. The one particular care home, which is in Selston, 12 people died there in a week. So I just happen to live in a hotspot where I'm surrounded by people who've either caught it, and through that and through the sort of social networks that I have, I happen to know of 12 people that have died from it or with it. But I can totally understand that if you've not seen that you would go, okay, that's a bit fishy. But I'm not lying to you. I have absolutely no reason to lie to you. And this is my point, Leeds, is that basically that's where I've got my understanding of it, is from personal experience of it, not from watching the news, and not from looking at something on YouTube. And I'm not trying to shit on anybody or denigrate them or have a slight dig at them. I'm just trying to explain where I've got my understanding of the situation from. It's from actually speaking to people that have been affected by it, and by having the misfortune, whatever you want to say, of coming into contact with these people.
And you know, when you said, you see, I mine's based upon my own experiences.
And I can understand.
Just give me a second. My experiences also included. I used to have my dressing changed every other day. So I'd have a nurse come in every other day, and they come in all the stuff, and nobody. They don't say they didn't know anybody that had died. Somebody might have been in contact with somebody that had got it, and so they'd had to self-isolate. And these are nurses, and so this is where I'm coming from. You can understand that I'm not. It's for me. It's my experience tells me that there's nothing to worry about here, and we've got somebody else.
There's not. No, you mustn't worry. This is entirely. I've never said there's anything to worry about per se. I'm just saying that basically, like, you know, I have personal experience that is contrary to your experience.
Good evening, Cotty.
Hello.
Good evening. How's me sound?
You're a bit quiet, mate.
1 second.
Can't hear you, mate.
How's that? How's that?
No, you're still really quiet.
Hello? Testing 1, 2, 3.
No,
Oh, that's a bit better.
oh, only a bit better though.
How's that now?
That's
Much better.
Yeah.
Right. Just trying to sort out the volume here. Yeah, I've got to cut in on a few things about the virus.
Okie dokie.
Can you turn it up a bit more, please, Paul? Can you try and turn it up a bit more, you Mike?
So
Or whatever you did.
Oh, bloody hell, we lost him.
Oh. Balloons.
Call back, Paul. Is it Paul?
Yeah,
right.
Paul Cotty, yeah, top lad. Says Dinny. And I agree as well. I agree. He'll be back. Just get yourself on, Paul. They sent elderly back into care homes, Neil.
Sorry, what?
They sent the elderly back into care homes.
Absolutely. Like, it was despicable. Like, that was a government policy to move people who were infected with COVID directly into care homes. And I've been saying that since about April, that was a despicable thing to do. And I suspect they did that on purpose to allow people that cost them money to die.
Paul, are you there, me old mate?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Just about. We could do it being a bit louder.
Right. My volumes, I don't know what the story is here on settings.
We can hear you.
Right. There, how's that? I'll get close to the mic.
Yeah, better.
Right. First of all, there is no virus.
Excellent. Brilliant.
People should learn the word virus to start off with. Look into the etymology of the word virus. Then look at
it's poison. It comes from poison.
Then look into the double compound word, vir, and us, which is two separate words. Then
Sorry,
people
what?
should go on and it's two separate words, vir, which is Latin, and us. Two separate words. Go learn the meaning of them. When you're finished that, go learn about body cells and how body cells die and the effects of body cells.
Virus, late Middle English, denoting from the venom of a snake, from Latin, literally slimy liquid, poison. The earlier medical sense preceded the current use as a result of improved scientific understanding. It's a substance produced in the body as a result of disease, especially one capable of infecting others. Cool, right. So what's your point, mate? Do you not believe that viruses exist at all?
Now, hang on. Now go into the it's a double compound word, split it. What does vir mean and what does us mean?
Why does this matter?
Sorry?
Why does this matter?
Well, you're talking about a virus and you don't even know what it is. That's why.
No, you're talking about the etymology.
A lot of people are talking about a virus and they don't know what it is. It's like talking about a
No,
pen.
No. You're not talking about what a virus is. You're talking about what the etymology is. But please do explain.
Well, what do you think an etymology of a word means?
It means the source of why, how the word came into being through usage.
There you have it, actually. The origins and existence of the word. Yeah?
Yeah, that's
Right, now go look at that word.
so.
Which means so. Look at the word.
I have. It said, I've just read it. It's to do with, it means literally slimy liquid or poison.
No. You're still looking at virus. Virus is a double compound word. VIO is Latin. Look at
Right.
VIO etymology.
Right. Okay. Just speed it up. Just explain it for us.
No, look at it.
Oh, fucking hell.
Read it. You're
What is
chatting about-
beer in Latin?
I'm not going to chat about anybody about a virus till you actually know what the word means.
And why did you phone in?
To get you to look at the word so you'll know what you're chatting
What is
about, mate.
beer? And so what? Hang on. What is beer in Latin? It means what? Sorry. Way or road.
VIO in Latin means man.
Second man. That's the second declension of it. Like that's the noun. This is the thing. Like it can be worded in very different ways.
If you're going to learn about something, you need to go back to a root word, so you do. Then you learn about it after.
Right. Brilliant. Okay. So how does it prove that virus doesn't exist?
You don't pick words out of thin air.
Sorry?
You don't pick words.
Right, okay, go on. Yeah, but anyway, so carry on, explain how this means that the virus doesn't exist.
The virus there, what's the etymology of it? Vir means man, doesn't it?
Or were.
Us means we.
It can do, yeah. Man,
No,
we. Man, we. That's common, isn't it?
Hang on, I just get a 50-50 on a friend beside me here. I'm asking you the question.
Fucking hell. Right, yeah, there's a question in here, is there? Okay, go on.
That's what it was. It was a question.
Right, the question was, what's the etymology of virus? And I looked it up and it said it means literally slimy poison. And then you said, no, not virus, ver. And I looked it up and it means either were or man or way.
Right, so I asked you to look virus, then I asked you to split the word back into its original compound, which means man and us. Now, do you know anything about bodies? Do you know anything about the body cells and how they die off?
No, well, I don't know. I maybe, but you're going to tell me how you do that.
You want to talk about virus? If you want to talk about virus, right now you went along and you learned the word and what it means. Do you know anything about body cells and how they die off?
Well, kind of, a little bit. Go on, enlighten us.
What is the test for? What is the test for? The test that they're using now. What is it for, and what was invented
Which
for?
test? The PCR test, the FLA test, the protein test, the blood test, the CTR test. Which one?
Any of the tests. It's all the one
Well,
thing.
they're all for different things. One of them looks for proteins in the blood. One of them looks for a response to antibodies. One of them looks at antigens. One of them looks for the genetic sequence.
No, they're actually testing for
Yes,
dead
it fucking
cells.
does.
They test for dead cells, RNA and
No,
DNA.
you don't test for dead cells. No, you're talking about the PCR test, right? Okay, and what you're talking about here is this bullshit about viral load and the perception that basically they could actually potentially pick up dead cells. Because what they're looking for there is RNA. And what a virus is RNA encoded in protein or protein. Yes.
If virus is not RNA, RNA is a cell.
Yes, that's literally what it is. RNA encased in glycoprotein.
You are correct. You're correct. If virus is RNA, and RNA is our cell. So
no, it's not. No, our cell is DNA.
No, it's still back to your body cell. Go look it up. Your body cell has a lifespan.
I thought you said they don't exist.
Body cells have a lifespan. Yeah? And in that lifespan, they either die too fast or they die too quick. And if they die too slow and die too fast. If they die too slow, that's where your cancer and everything starts. By the way, cancer is meant to be a virus. So that's your dead.
Not meant to be. Okay, but carry on.
Then you've got where your cells get poisons and toxins. Why do you keep looking over? Do you need help on this? Do you need to do homework?
No, I'm looking to be mate.
You're chatting there all night. You're chatting there all night. Right, so you don't know what a virus is for starters. I've just established. Want your mask? Want your mask? What is the mask made up of?
What?
What is the mask made of?
What mask?
The mask that you think people should wear. What is it made of?
So you're now going to pivot to tell me that basically breathing in through the mask of polychlorinators is going to cause lung cancer. Don't use that type of fucking mask. Yeah, I'm just trying to preempt what nonsense you're babbling on about. But go on, just explain.
What nonsense I'm on about? Sure, how could I be on about nonsense when you're the one that didn't even know what virus meant?
No, I didn't understand the etymology, and I looked it up. And I still don't quite understand what that fucking means. What does it mean? You never explain what it means. What does that mean?
You know nothing about. You didn't know what the word meant. You know nothing about.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. So enlighten us. What does that mean? Or
do you realize? And I heard you saying earlier on about a mask and how people be dying. No, it doesn't work that way. It breaks down your immune system.
You what? Say again, mate.
A mask breaks down the immune system.
He's exploded.
The mask is made of chemical PFTA, which is also known as CA.
Yeah, really, really cheap ones are made from PTFE. Don't use those. Don't use them. I fucking told you that was what you were going to say, didn't I? Didn't I say 5 seconds ago? In a second, you're going to say about PTFE and breathing it in, and then you might go on to say that it causes lung cancer. Didn't I tell you that? Didn't I fucking tell you that? Right?
You think that's not dangerous?
Beg your pardon?
You think restriction on your
don't wear those masks. Don't wear those masks. No, I've just literally preempted what you were going to say, cut you off at the pass, and said, don't wear those masks.
You cut nobody off because you don't even understand.
Mate, you might be we can't hear you. Not that it makes a blind bit of difference because you're making just as fucking much sense as you did 5 seconds ago. But like, what?
How does the immune system work?
What? I can't hear you. Like, we can't hear you. We still can't hear you.
How does your immune system work?
Are you trying to get the tester mold? Can you hear? Mate, can you type it in the chat? Like, because I can see the chat. If you type it in the private chat, I'll be able to answer you. Because we can't hear you. Honestly, I'll type it in the private chat. I'll answer.
I try to start out with 7 I call back if I can.
Call back.
Yep, call back. Whew, I just went for a drink. I went down in my lift and got myself a drink, come back, thought, I hope they've smashed the place up while I've been down there.
Well, it's difficult to say, really. Like, I don't know. Like, what were we talking about? Yeah, it just sort of disintegrated a bit. But he was talking about what was he talking about originally? He was talking about the test. It's something about viruses and the etymology of viruses. Then he was saying that the test don't look for something. I don't know. It all sort of broke down a bit. Then he sort of pivoted into sort of masks and you're breathing in PTFE and stuff like that. And I've seen a bit about that, and that might actually have a degree of truth to it. I've got no idea if I'm brutally honest, but don't wear those masks. And that seems fairly, a fairly decent solution to that one. But are there any more questions in the chat or anything? I can't see the chat. I can see the private chat. If anyone wants to drop a thing into the private chat, I'm happy to answer questions.
Well, let's see what's happening with Paul. Toilet in Aldi's. Here we go.
It's interesting hair. Apparently people are interested in my hair, but who can blame me?
Yeah, well, at least you've got fucking hair, man. Mind you, I think these days, if I had hair,
you look so you carry it off so well. So would that I could carry your look off as well as you carry it off. That's a compliment.
Well, I should hope so. How does Neil achieve such spikes? Says Apple. She's been asking.
How's my mic?
Yes, we can hear you, Paul. We can hear you.
Super job. How's that?
That's better.
It's actually a little loud this time.
Right, I had to go. Sorry if I sound ignorant, but I was trying to talk onto my mic here, so sorry about that, Neil.
No, it's fine. Sorry if I was having a go.
No, I had to go into the settings here or something on YouTube and change the mic settings. That's what it is. I heard you right. We go back. You heard me on about.
Explain this point to us, right? Something about virus means man-we or something like that. So what does that, to your mind, please, because I'm ignorant to this, explain what that means. I don't understand.
Every word has a meaning.
Yeah.
They don't pick it out of thin air. So the word virus is a double compound word. Most people go back to the 1400s, which is French. It's a double compound word, so you need to break that apart. When you break that apart, it's voyeur and it's us. Voyeur means man. After the original meaning of man, they start dragging it into human. It could be husband, warrior, and so forth. They use different definitions. The same way the word we, it is also us. So they're talking about us. That's what it is, as in a virus. What they're talking about is a system within our body, and it's our production system. And that's why I was asking, do you know anything about the body cells and the reproduction of body cells and what body cells do? And cells have two ways of dying. Cells will die, they have a lifespan, which is a natural lifespan, and our body changes every couple of months because every cell or every part of our body, the cell changes. Cells also, there's also protein cells as well, so there is. The cells there for different matter. Within that, our cells, when our cells die too slow, that's where cancer, so-called virus. When our cells die too slow, our body is in acidity then as well. When cells are dying too slow, cells also die too fast. So that's within their own natural process. But then you've also got where cells are dying from toxics, poisons, radiations, and all the shit and living we have today. That attaches to the membrane of the cells, and the cells then, because it's in a water environment, if that punches through a cell then, it allows water into the cell. And the cell will erupt then, so it'll bust. It'll start blistering, and then it'll eventually bust. With colds and flus, that's where our body is detoxing the rubbish and shite in our body. Just like a calf. It's up to you to say no. I don't mind. I'll go by my research. You go by yours. Yeah, that's fair enough, isn't it?
Like, if you can show me some evidence that that's the case.
Nobody, you link in with me, and I'll show you all the evidence you need. I don't come on here. I don't go on to any radio station without having evidence of what I say. And it's very seldom I go on to radio stations, whereas I used to. So back to, I don't get on a radio station unless I know what it's about. And I don't get on unless I start talking about a subject, unless I go back to the root of that subject. And I start learning everything inside out about that subject. And people are misleading and misjumping the fucking gun the whole time, excuse the language. They're not even learning about the body function or nothing else. That's where it's a virus. The only true virus that exists as a bad to us is when they butter into a vaccine.
This is Germany.
A vaccine, when they butter through our arm, which is our protection system, between that and our mouth is our protection system. What they're doing is breaking through that then, so they do. With our vaccine. The vaccines then, which that's why they have live baby cells in it. The cells from that, they have the virus, or what they call a virus. It's the M zones. The M zones release.
Did you just say that viruses only exist because of vaccines?
No, well, hang on. I'm going to go back a sec. That's why I was going back.
Because you know that the Spanish flu existed 20 years before the first vaccine.
What was the Spanish flu?
Now you're going to do the bacterial pneumonia because you've not read the paper properly.
No,
says
I'm not going to do anything.
Pneumonia was caused by the flu virus stripping away the ciliary of the lungs, allowing that bacteria to spread.
Right, here's one for you, right? You're talking about, you're on about the Spanish. You're talking about the Spanish flu again. When I just told you what my option of, or what my understanding of a flu is, you know, it's a detoxification of the body. Learn. It's all the information's got out there. All you have to do is go learn it. Have you even tried looked at it? Have you even looked at it? Don't mind, you're making faces there, aren't you?
Rubbish.
Right, what's rubbish?
The idea that viruses are a detoxification of the body. They're not. They're a pathogen.
Hang on. Let me see. They're not a pathogen whatsoever. Your M zones, your cells release M zones. M zones are a releasing solution.
Exosomes. You're not even doing your own shit right. You mean exosomes.
Exosomes. Pronunciation. Right. If you want to get Larry and I want to get smart because of my pronunciation, that's no bother. I'll cut you up on yours and that. The exosomes, yeah?
Exosomes.
Exosomes. E-X-O-S-O-M-E-S. Is that correct?
Listening to Andrew Court.
Is that correct in the spelling? Is that correct in the spelling?
I don't know. How did you spell it?
I just did. You see, you're too busy trying to correct me more instead of listening.
Well, I apologize. Repeat it, please.
Right. What does exosomes do in the body? What's their function?
The communication channel between the various organs. They work to basically communicate. The exosomes are essentially cells. Endo means in, exo means out. Okay, so what happens is a communication device between cells. They aren't viruses. They sometimes have been used by certain viruses like HIV as a Trojan horse to spread themselves around the body. But you're going to basically now say that they're the body's response system to any sort of like toxicity, and they're actually good for you, and they're pushing this crap out, and that's what a virus is. And it's not true.
Why not? Why not? Why is that not true, what you just said?
Because there's no evidence to support it. It's all based on bullshit, lies, misunderstanding about what exosomes do, and Andrew Kaufman lying about electron microscopy. See, now you take the piss out of me. Microscope stuff. And basically, like, what's so stupid about this whole theory is that it's all based on one fucking photo of exosomes actually coming out of a Guillain-Barré virus, and it just shows that the level of research into this is piss poor. But no, Karen.
Right, absolutely. The level of research might be piss poor on it, yeah.
Yeah, it is, because you've totally misunderstood.
Most of the stuff you're coming with, yeah. Where does that information come on? All that studying.
Those places. That's how you do research. You look.
Where does most of it come? Where does most of it coming from? Institutions of indoctrination, is it? The same thing as we're taught in school. And back to your flu virus,
most of it comes. I don't know if you've been watching. But most of it comes from my personal interaction with people who've been dealing with this and who I've spoken to personally, face to face.
We rewind back to your flu virus as well, yeah.
Okay, now, no.
Yeah, the so-called flu virus. As I said, people can go out there and learn. They can go out and read on what their option is of a virus, what you believe it to be, or what I believe that it doesn't exist. Yeah, information is out there. Information is out there to support both sides. Information's out there to support both sides. But it's funny how the curricular system push an agenda. And a lot of the doctors are any of this scientific shit. It's all coming from a curricular system, which is all comes from America. Like all schools and all history and everything else. Curriculum. It's all part of a curriculum. Doctors are a curricular system. I do not. Yeah. Where does all this, so who comes up with all this curriculum?
So anyway, guys, listen, we've been joined by Sir Robbie as well. I do. You know, I don't want to come between you. You know, you've been doing my show for me for a bit.
Hello, Sir Robbie. Sorry.
Evening, Neil.
Because it's meant to come on. Good. So I just wanted to just see what's on your mind, Sir Robbie.
What I wanted to ask Neil is the identification of this virus. We know it's been labelled as SARS-CoV, and then SARS-CoV-2, sorry, and then it's been given this new label, COVID-19.
COVID-19 is the disease that is caused by the virus.
The disease, okay.
Yeah, the
So,
disease. And basically, what it does is it causes your lungs to explode and expel this liquid, which is basically sort of like a sort of bacterial fluid, but it's full of blood clots.
I read some of the literature saying that it causes a cytokine storm.
That's it. Yeah.
Now, what I'm trying to understand, we're obviously having a lot of confusion, and everyone's got their tuppence to say about it.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to understand is what's come out of China. China initially put out the genome of the so-called virus. Now, there's been research to say some research was identified in India, if I'm correct, in Delhi, that said that it was possibly an engineered disease.
Yeah. There's certain like elements within the sort of genome that look like they've been sort of transferred in from like it was sort of engineered. Sorry, I totally interrupted you. Is that what that you were getting at?
Yeah. So what I'm trying to get at, or trying to find out, has there been independent research in the UK, the States, Europe, to back that up or discredit that, to identify what exactly the virus is, so that we can say it's this strain of coronavirus and such, to get it down to the nuts and bolts. We've got, in my job, I've worked in some of these institutes in a form, but have we managed to identify it down to the nuts and bolts and what they want to call it? COVID-19 is a label. What the exact strain of SARS-CoV-2 is?
Well, I mean,
in your experience.
Well, here's the thing. Like, there's really about sort of three different things there, because have they identified that this is a unique virus? Have they isolated it? Have they purified it? Have they got the genome? Are they relying on China? Yes, they've got the genome, and numerous places all over the world, France and I think Egypt and the UK, Edinburgh, and South Korea, and various places all over the world have actually isolated the genome. And so they know that what came out of China is accurate. They weren't just basing their evidence solely on what China told us. Now, is there any evidence that there's something in that particular genome that indicates that this might be like an engineered disease or a sort of gain of function disease? Potentially, it depends who you talk to. There are some people who have got a very strong opinion that this is that's very, very obviously true. And there's some people that don't think that it's actually very strong. And it runs the gamut, basically, because the problem was that basically Steve Bannon suddenly came out and really heavily pushed this with this whistleblower who probably isn't really a whistleblower, saying that she definitely knew that it was engineered and it came from China. And the problem with that was
I've seen that girl, yes.
Yeah, Steve Bannon basically sort of jumped on it to try and sort of like potentially like, take the blame off Trump to an element. Was she telling the truth? I don't think she was. Does that mean that it still might be engineered? Yeah, potentially. So
because if I can say
Yeah.
this, from what I've read, and it's come out in the sort of the conspiracy realm, but what I've read, and so the NIH had were doing the gain of function research in the early 2000s, and this work was, other academics and scientists kind of realized, hold on, what the fuck are you doing? You shouldn't be doing that kind of work. You're playing with fire. The gain of further function studies. Now, I've not been able to find much documentation in my research to look at that, but from what I've read on several streams, people have said that this moratorium was issued on it, and then we can go look at the whole question about Bauchi having this work further contained issued out in China and the bits of money. Now, is that all talk? Because if we were to understand it, if this was a weaponized version of SARS-CoV, the reality of that could be considered in several ways. That if it was weaponized, you would have people clamoring for blood across the whole world in that sense. So the question being is one of the questions to ask: if it is weaponized, are intelligence agencies and governments keeping that damn quiet for the consideration that they know where that would go if that was made public?
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, my take on that, dude, is that basically the gain of function stuff is not weaponized per se in the as in like it's supposed to kill absolutely everyone. What they do is they're mucking about.
No, but it has a it has a function, and it would be it's designed for something like.
Well, it's designed to be really resilient.
Let's take the example of the Novichok scenario that was supposedly happened in the UK 2 years ago, or 3 years ago now, where a weaponized version of an aerosol sprayed Novichok was released in Salisbury, and then everything that happened with the Russian guy a year later, supposedly we have the story of some guy and his wife finding a vial of something which they thought was a perfume bottle. So
that's something weird,
you can think of it as Hollywood in that sense, or a reality if we take what we are told. But in my research and reading a lot of stuff, we understand that the weaponization of certain strains of biological agents is a very real thing. Companies and governments wouldn't spend hundreds of millions of pounds, or billions in fact, like a Porton Down and such, and Port Detrick and Maryland. So we know it's a very real consideration, or a very real fact, sorry. So the question here is, my thinking along the lines as, yes, sadly it is a weaponized straining, unfortunately.
Yes,
but go on.
Sorry, but yes, I tend to agree with you. What I think happened, excuse me, is that basically we outsourced all that sort of research to China, because basically we don't tend to like to sort of experiment on monkeys in these countries. I don't have a position on whether that's right or wrong. This is just a fact. All these sort of like dangerous sort of biological weapon stuff outside of like places like Porton Down and stuff like that, it's all been outsourced to China. And yes, there was UK experiments and American experiments and Fauci money and Obama money all going into this Wuhan lab, because basically everyone was sending the money to this Wuhan lab, because this is a place where they do gain of function diseases. And so this is why I think it's potentially plausible that they are, as you say, as you quite rightly say, hiding the fact that this is a gain of function thing and it was released accidentally, because that would open such a fucking stupid shitstorm can of worms that basically they can't just blame it on China. Because if they try that, China will turn around and say, you knew what was going on, you told us to do this, you paid us to do this. So this is the bind that they're in.
Well, we know. If you
can I ask a question? How comes they never isolated it? They never isolated it yet. It's never been isolated. Hang on, let me finish. I'm actually being trying to find it. There was a report released yesterday in England.
I'll send it to you now in the chat.
There's a woman over here called Gemma Doherty who got her hands on a yoke that was released in England yesterday. that someone applied for over there through the data information, had to go through the courts, and it was never isolated. And another thing as well, all your debts in America. Giuliano, Trump's president Giuliano was on Russia Today News or something today, yeah. And the debts in America are down. How come for the fourth time? How come the debts are down? All debts in America are down.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are. Fact.
No,
Go check it up.
Have you checked the source?
Go check it up. Fact.
I have done. There's 300,000 excess debt. Right. So brilliant. Right. Brilliant. Okay. So
since the Obama, because they were going on about healthcare and all sorts of rubbish. And Giuliano put across, how comes all the debts are down this year? You see, because they tried to flip it on Trump with with the COVID debts, and Giuliano turned around and said, how comes even with the number of COVID debts, that all the numbers of debts are down this year? Even with the number of COVID debts.
It wasn't true. He done a statistical trick.
If you're telling me that's not true, I can tell you everything you say is not true. You're
300,000.
waffling on as if there's even a virus, for fuck's sake.
Hang on, right? Are we back to this shit, right?
Of course you're going to think.
So, which are you doing? Are you doing the? I'll just fuck your freedom of information request, mate. No, just be quiet now, or so wreck your dreams, mate. Okay.
No, I won't be quiet. I won't be quiet to listen. You blabber on.
Right, the freedom of information request.
Say something sensible.
You should really have paid attention to that. What they asked.
All you have to do is say, hang on, I've got a question I'm going to answer. Don't tell me to be quiet. Don't be bringing it into arrogance.
You said that they've never isolated it. I said that's not true and about to prove you wrong. So sit down and, learn something. Like,
so who going to learn it from? So I'm not going to learn it from you when you didn't even know what the word virus was.
It doesn't fucking matter.
How can I learn?
There's no need for seizures.
It's been isolated. How do you think they got the genome? They've been isolated hundreds of thousands of times all over the planet. I can send you the links and information. You're talking about the freedom of information request. Now, we discussed this on the last program. This was created by Piers Corbyn, and it's really, really shifty. It's really, really dirty what he's done. He said, I want to see a picture of the isolated virus. I don't mean in the parlance of science, as in the isolated virus, the genome, something that's been spun down, something that's been isolated from lung fluid. He means in the common usage parlance, isolated as in with nothing else in the picture. And he knows that basically viruses are inert unless they have a cell culture on which to present themselves. So this was a complete con man's trick. It was so cheap. And the fact that they had to do something so cheap. And what was even worse was that a Freedom of Information Act request is for something that's not in the public domain. And every single one of the people that they contacted, and everyone cut this off the response. They all cut off the bit where the people said, why are you asking us? This is in the public domain. This isn't for us to ask. What's worse is that when people sent it to Public Health England and the Department of Health and Safety, they actually directed them to the experiment where the virus was isolated in their response. And I've got that email and I can show you, and we showed it on the last show. So basically what they're doing there is basically a really cheap trick, where basically what they said was, we want it isolated in a scenario where it can't possibly be done. They essentially said, we want to hear music, but we don't want it to come out of a cassette or a CD or a speaker or a musical instrument. Just, we want to hear music on its own. And it's like, well, you can't do that. You need some sort of function to express music. Or we want to see a cloud, but not in the sky. We want to see a cloud in the vacuum.
These analogies.
When you finish off funny talk there.
So you go for that shit.
It's never been isolated. Go read.
Yes, it has.
Never been isolated. It's never been isolated. A man that doesn't even know the word virus, and I'm going to believe what you say. You doesn't even know what the word virus was.
Well done. Devastating.
You didn't even know what the word virus was. It's like talking about a bike and you never even seen one. You didn't even know what the word virus was. Would you not
So?
say that? So how can you even chat about something you don't even know what the word means in the beginning?
That means fucking stupid. That means nothing.
Would you cop onto yourself? How can you chat about something you don't even know what the word means in the beginning?
What does electricity mean?
Don't jump the gun. Don't even try
What
and
does
switch
electricity
it.
mean? Can you
don't
talk
wanna
about lights going on and
We're
off?
all
You don't know
We're
what
not-
electricity means. Go on. Go on, smart ass.
Don't try and change it, see? You try to change and make yourself look clever now. Don't look that way. You didn't even know the word virus. You didn't even know the word virus.
I've muted you, Neil. I'm
Learn
sorry.
the word virus.
You just keep interrupting all the time. You keep laughing, and I find it a bit unbecoming, shall we say? Hang on.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, Paul.
I haven't got much to look. I put enough posts out there. I do my research, and I always say it. Unless you understand the word virus, don't even start chatting to me about it.
Why does
You
that? Why is
obviously
that
didn't
relevant?
understand it in the beginning, and all you're repeating is all shite talk that other people out there that pushes mask and hasn't got a clue what the word virus means. Pushing.
It doesn't matter. What does electricity mean?
What do you mean? What's electricity got to do with virus? We can go on all day. What does this mean and what that means? We're all a bit of
Do you understand? Well, let's
all
take your own.
virus.
Hang on. Let's take your own metric of whether you can talk about a subject or not, and we'll put it back on you. Do you know what the etymology of the word electricity is? Do you know what the form electricity is
I tell you
most
what.
commonly found in?
I tell you what.
Okay, but you will
No.
talk about the
But
lights
you know
going
what?
on.
But you know what? If there was a problem with electricity tomorrow causing me any health issues, I'd go off and learn what the word electricity was inside out. I'd learn that word inside out. But I've no reason to learn it. I was too busy reading about viruses and learning that. So if you want to switch it into electricity, that's no bother. You learn about virus, what the word is, and everything else, and I learn about electricity, and we come on and have a conversation again about it and see how smart you are. That's no bother. You're bringing up a total subject. You're bringing up a complete total subject to jump off the simplicity. You didn't even know what the word virus was.
Yeah, I know. It's irrelevant.
How is it irrelevant, you mad joke, yeah?
Well, how is it relevant?
It's far from irrelevant.
Well, then it will be really, really easy for you to explain why it is relevant. Go on, please. Because I'm really missing this and I want to learn.
No.
Okay, thanks.
Simple as no.
Cheers, man.
So
Okay.
let someone else cut in.
Okay. Have you got anything else you want to ask Neil tonight?
I was going to sort of before the other chap was speaking there. We was talking about the military aspect of it. We know that going back to the weaponization of it and the such. We know that since the days of World War One, that the pharmaceutical or the military would be the more using the pharmaceutical industry to create all kinds of experimental agents.
Yeah.
And they don't basically humans in the sense are part of the experiment. We know from the experiments that the Americans have carried out on parts of in St. Louis and the experiments have been carried out in the UK by the UK government on Scotties and civilians.
Oh, definitely.
So it's hard to describe. In your experience, do you not find it funny that the UK government and the medical establishment have at one point said, "Don't wear masks; they're no good. There's no point in wearing masks," and then it suddenly everybody's got to wear face mask or mask stroke coverings.
Well,
But the
I mean,
hold on. But the government have offered. In my job, I have to use masks, so I get the adequate training for using the masks. But the government have not provided any forms of education for the population to use and how to wear masks in the correct form and manner.
no, you're right.
And
They haven't even given biohazard bins. Where's all the biohazard?
That's another question, another point to raise. But
I mean, go on.
But what I find it funny that, well, not funny. I find it quite sad because the interesting part that there was a research paper done, and Bouchy's name was attached to it from 2008 about the potential of on the Spanish flu, which was quite interesting.
Masks. You didn't mention masks at all. I know the paper you're talking about. It didn't mention masks at all.
About the bacterial pneumonia.
Yeah, which was caused by essentially the virus. What it did was it ripped away all the sort of like mucous membranes and the cilia of the lungs and stuff like that, and basically left everyone ripe and open for bacterial pneumonia. And basically, it's not uncommon, but basically, when you get flu, that you actually develop pneumonia.
I've had bacterial pneumonia in the balls. Unfortunately, as a child, I had every ailment you can imagine, including bronchial pneumonia.
Oh, crikey.
Yeah, and a strange turn of events. How to put this? Yeah, the bronchial pneumonia transferred to cause muscle spasms or muscle stiffness. Muscle stiffness in my left leg for 10 days. And
shit.
Yeah, strange. And I had doctors and consultants coming to poke and prod me as a child to find out what the fuck had gone wrong. And they were perplexed in that sense. So just an odd occurrence in that sense. But the consideration of masks, I find it very funny that the government are not putting out any education for it, because you're seeing, but I see vast amounts of people every day. An example of how people are lazy. They push their masks under their chin and no consideration. They just do it, and they've got no consideration of the sweat and the dirt. And you have people talking about the questions raised about oxygen losses, and that is a consideration to be considered. But what the average Joe blogs that don't think about it is that surgeons or people in the medical environment, they work in a pressurized air environment.
Exactly. Well, yeah and no. Like, I mean, come on, like, but
labs are pressurized, theaters are pressurized.
Yeah, but Vietnamese guys that work in nail bars, they're not working in pressurized environment. I've never seen products in Vietnamese nail bars.
No, well, you're not going to get that.
Right? And I've never seen a ninja film where it's like one of the shogun was waiting and all the ninjas died of hypoxia on the way to the
Yeah, I understand that.
I know, but you're absolutely right about why did they not well, there's 2 points. Why at the beginning did they say don't wear masks? This is shameful, really. It's because basically the country didn't have enough masks, and China actually bought up all the world's supply of masks. This is true. I know that's stupid, but it's true. So they basically said don't buy fucking masks because the nurses need them. And that's really, really sad and shameful, but it's absolutely true. And the second point that you were making was that basically why have they not teaching the public to wear them properly, and what the point of them is, and where to wear them and where not to wear them, and when it's okay to be exempt from it, and to encourage a more sort of nice culture of it, rather than a sort of fuck you and you'd wear them.
Unfortunately, we see it.
What do you mean when you're exempt from it? Everybody's exempt from it.
Fine. But the point that I was trying to make was that basically this is bad messaging.
Everybody's exempt from it.
Fucking hell, do you want to hear the answer or not?
No.
Yes or no?
But everybody's exempt from it.
Did you want to hear my answer or not? Yes or no?
Well, not
It's
really, but go
embarrassing
ahead.
talking like this. Right. Anyway, fine. Then don't wear one. This is the point. But this is down to poor messaging. This is the point. There shouldn't be any persecution.
Poor messaging is coming from you blabbering on about that are safe.
You're absolutely right. I am behind the government policy.
They're
for
not
masks.
safe. They're far from safe. Did you ever do an oxygen examination with?
Yeah.
Have you actually tested it for oxygen? Have you?
I have actually. Yeah. Yeah.
You have. Would you put that video up for us?
Let's say my next door neighbour is the
Would you
woman
put that video up for us? Would you put that video up for us?
No, I
You
didn't
put that
video it.
video up. What?
I didn't video it.
You didn't video it. Oh,
No,
that's
but the
strange.
videos with
Would
it,
you
they are.
go up
I
there?
actually did go on one. It was fun.
What was the oxygen intake? What was the oxygen intake then?
I've no idea, but it was with
What was
perfectly
your
normal.
oxygen intake? What was the oxygen intake in the room before you tried it?
I did it outside actually on the drive in front of
What
my
was the
mum's.
oxygen intake? What was the oxygen outside then?
No idea.
Would you go ahead that you fool you? You're lying.
What does that even mean?
Go ahead that you're lying, you fool. You never even tried. You don't even know what the oxygen intake is. You didn't know what virus means. You know feck all about the cells, and you don't even know what an oxygen intake of your body is.
Well, you fucked
And
my career.
you're talking about masking viruses. Would you go up there that?
I beg
Would
your
you go
pardon?
up there that? Go up there that and go off and learn what the oxygen intake of your body is. And how it reduces by using them masks. Why do you think people in training for years, people that do training, wear a mask, and there's a thing at the side, and there's a way you can reduce the oxygen intake and stuff like that for the training.
What,
Do you know the purpose of all that?
You're talking about wearing a gas
Well,
mask.
furthermore, you said you know about cells. You
You're
need
wearing a gas mask, aren't you? You're wearing a gas mask with wearing a surgical mask, which is a really shitty, wanky thing to do. Is that what you do?
You need oxygen and you need electricity, don't you?
Just answer the question. Is that what you do? Because I suspect that's what you're doing, and you've been caught out.
What's the question?
Were you conflating wearing a gas mask with wearing a surgical mask?
What has a gas mask got to do with a non-virus mask?
Forced to wear a mask.
Why do you do that? And you've done the same with jumping over to electricity when you couldn't explain virus. Now you're talking shite about a paper mask and you're jumping over the gas mask. Would you go that? Will you stick to the one subject?
Well, I'm asking you to explain what you're talking about.
Stick to your nappy that you stick on the face. Not a gas mask. Two different jokes altogether, you my joke here.
Carry on.
Are you right in the head, are you?
Carry on.
Are you all right in the head?
What else?
What else? I'm asking a question. You're all right in the head.
Paul, before you go on, can you give us the etymology of head?
Of what?
Head, a joke. I'm just trying to break this up. I'm trying to joke. I'm just trying to break this up. It's getting all a bit, shouty and at each other and stuff like that. And I understand it's an issue. It's something that I'm trying to like just not be on one.
I understand that, Jason, but I'm not going to let him start speaking over me and try to switch subjects and think I'm not going to.
I know he has. Listen, I've been interviewing him all night, so you'll sit to win. But what about this? And he'll go, "Oh, hang on a minute. But what about a nappy? Or I don't know. You fucking
no. It's called different premises. Like, do you not do this?
Come here, look up.
The
chap's still laughing. I'm still laughing. So there's no hard feelings. It's only a show. Any hard feelings over there, Neil?
No hard feelings at all.
Crying out loud. Like, you sound like a nice guy.
You do that, Neil. Right?
Sorry?
When he's talking about this, do you know what the word virus means? And then you said, you do.
Yeah, because like he's saying, it's vitally important. I can't talk on the subject unless I understand what the word virus means. And I've just said, well, that's bollocks, isn't it? Because you don't know what the etymology of loads of words mean that you will happily talk about all day, every day. What's the etymology of the word football? What's the etymology of the word politics? What's the etymology of 1,000 words that you use in everyday parlance about the innumerate subjects that you talk about all the time, possibly with expert knowledge on? But that is a really silly point.
All you're doing is coming out with curriculum system. Go inside the box. Go inside that curriculum system.
Yeah. But okay, fine.
I have a good friend that's a professor, so I have. Yeah, he's a professor of biology and everything, and a load of other bloody yokes behind him. He thought the virus was real at first. Now he puts it down to being a cold and a flu, and I'd still disagree with him.
Well, okay, fine. Based on what? Because I'm curious to know. Because like, I'm not an arse. So like, you know, if you've got something to tell me, that's fine. But what I won't do is like take shit off people or lie. And I've found stuff that basically counters what I've heard from everybody on here. So if you've got something, I'd be delighted to hear it. What changed your friend's mind?
What changed his mind?
Yeah. Let's start there.
What changed his mind from that it was a virus down to a cold or a flu, no more than a cold or a flu now? I don't know what exactly changed his mind. Probably all the bullshit that's coming out. But it took him long enough. It took him long enough because I've quizzed him inside out at the beginning, and when he didn't believe it, but then he started believing. He wasn't long. He couldn't contradict the things I was saying then when he went off and checked things. And anybody who goes off and checks it correctly cannot come back and has not so far come back and says, "Oh, by the way, Paul, you're wrong on that."
I did about 6 or 7 different things about 20 minutes ago.
Do what?
All right, crack on.
Sorry, what did you say there? I heard you something about 20 minutes.
I said that's not true. I counted several things that you took to be fact that were not true about 20 minutes ago.
What was that? Name them.
All sorts of fucking stuff. Stuff about the virus not being isolated. Stuff about I can't remember what we were nattering on about.
That can be checked up. Anybody that wants to do their own independent research can go off and check that up. That's simple.
Yeah.
Nobody has to believe me or you on that. They can go off and do their own.
I offered to send you the link.
Everybody, I can get. Come here. I was actually looking for a link there myself where it only came out yesterday.
Here's how you find it. Go on Google Scholar, or if you don't have Google Scholar, Google Scholar. Then click the link to Google Scholar and then put COVID-19 isolation, and you'll see the thousands and thousands of papers.
Hang on. First of all, COVID-19 is the name of a military operation. Corona is the name of the virus. Am I right or wrong there?
No.
Hang on. Is it called COVID-19 virus or coronavirus?
Well, it's SARS-CoV-2 virus, COVID, and COVID is.
You see, the system had done that at the beginning. They call everything Corona, and now they're switching it to COVID-19.
No
virus called, even in their own bullshit, there's no virus called COVID-19. It's called Corona.
No, you're right there, and I misspoke. COVID-19 is a disease caused by the virus SARS-CoV-2. So you're much better to go on Google Scholar and Google isolation SARS-CoV-2. Yes, thank you for correcting me there. You actually, I made an error there. But yes, no, and it's called.
Right. So hang on. I'll rewind. Let me jump in. You just said you made an error. You made that error over what? Warden.
What?
Yeah, that error was made over the Warden. Yeah, COVID-19.
No, you see, it work because actually I did it earlier today. So you told me earlier on Warden's not the papers that show the isolation of the virus. So yeah, I misspoke, but it really doesn't matter. We can do both Google checks if you want, and I'm pretty sure they'll come exactly the same result.
Yeah, you can do all the Google checks you want, right? There's a thing called archive library. Go in and research things yourself. Archive. Go into archives library and do a bit of research on an old book.
Which book?
Old books. Go in and do your own research. Archives.
Do research on old books. Sorry.
Do it.
I'm struggling not to corpse. Go on, carry on. How old do these books need to be?
He's talking about archive.org,
Yeah.
Right.
which is a reference website for numerous books of any classification. So
Okay.
a
And
similar.
what should I do on this archive.org?
So
Read
it's
all
just-
the books on there.
No, what I'm saying is,
obviously specific. Paul's talking about searching for specific
I
books.
know, but then he refused to tell me the name of the book. So I'm completely stuck now.
hang on, I didn't refuse to give you the name of the book. What I said is, why don't you go off and start researching yourself instead of depending on the
Research
curriculum?
myself.
Well, instead of depending on the curriculum system, all you're doing is talking curriculum bullshit. Go off and do your own researching, start with archives, and maybe move along after that. You'll find other information in other libraries. I'm not going to start naming off stuff when you can go off and research it, but obviously you won't.
I'd be delighted if you tell me which books to research. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing at the minute, apart from research, like reading everything on archive.org.
No, you go off and learn about what viruses and functions of the body. You're not that thick, are you,
But if
really?
you
Like?
track what you think now, you'll be cross. So tell me the right ones to read.
Are you deliberately trying to be stupid there now, are you?
No, I'm trying to find out what it is that you're trying to direct me towards.
No, you're not listening, you see. You're too busy
No,
trying to...
no, I am, and you keep saying I'm not.
Hang on, you're too busy putting on your stupid impressions, trying to reverse things around here.
What impressions do you do?
The only thing you're doing, apart from looking stupid with that head every time you pull your faces, is you're wooden. There you go, you see?
Sorry, carry on.
Pulling stupid faces is not going to win any points here. You're either going to look up. I'll go off and check out your bullshit. You just go off and check out things.
I don't know what to check out. I've been asking you
Go research. I told you to research. Hang on.
God.
You don't need the name of the book to go research on cells, functional bodies, and viruses, and oxygen intake to the body. Stuff that you know nothing about. You're out been chatting all night. I question about them when I ask you the simple questions about them, you know, fuck all, and you switch it into gas mask. And I'm surprised you didn't tell me. Oh, by the way, it was raining when I was outside with a mask on. I couldn't do the right temperature.
Is that it? Brilliant.
Yeah.
No, I'm getting some feedback here. Somebody. I don't know where it's coming from.
Your question.
That might be me.
Say from briefly.
Jason. One interesting book that I pulled off of archive.org years ago was a book by Alfred R. Wallace. In the late 18th century, referenced smallpox vaccine and whether it was useless. In the sense based on 45 years worth of study. Okay. And he made an interesting in what he wrote. This is off the back of my hand sort of thing. What he wrote was saying that the smallpox vaccine back then was of no use in layman's terms.
Right. But that's one book. But I mean, what is the evidence that? I mean, no, I haven't read it.
Book about 2 years ago, so it's an old issue in the sense in that debate whether vaccines are good or not good.
Well, I mean, that's a very different sort of debate because, like, you know, is there such a thing as say vaccine damage and over vaccination? Yes, absolutely. Totally. Does that mean that all vaccines like up and down the spectrum should be completely avoided? No, I don't think so at all. Like, but yeah, I'm totally sort of, you know, wary of, you know, of people's concerns about, like, particularly rushed vaccines. So I think this, particularly in regard to the sort of like coronavirus vaccine, it's just ridiculous. Like, they can't possibly have done any long-term studies on safety, and so I personally wouldn't take it. And I know people that are basically clamoring for it, and that's very strange to me as well. And I've told them, you're mental. Like, and
that would be the media that have generated that fear where the media have generated such fear that, what's that expression? They'll have them begging for it in the sense.
Well, to a degree, but that's sort of the point of the media. And like, just because it's generated fear doesn't necessarily mean that there's nothing to be afraid of. I mean, you know, they generated fear about things like road safety. Like, are you living in fear if you look both ways before you step into the road? Because the government told you to do that. Are you living in fear if you put on a seatbelt? Because the government told you to do that.
True.
So, you know, there's a lot of hyperbolic language thrown around.
Well, that's. I personally come to the opinion that this, going back to the Wuhan thing, and I personally, with the language that Bill Gates has come out from the outset, my personal opinion is that this is a engineered experiment to push people for a vaccine, and we know that old saying, power corrupts, and ultimate power corrupts even more. If Bill Gates was just talking purely about the fact that, okay, we've got a problem and we need to deal with that problem, and we've got a mix of using therapeutic treatments and vaccine, we would be more akin to, there wouldn't be such suspicion raised over it. But the way his language and even his body language has come across, he's just looking at it in the dollar signs. And if you want to look
and his legacy as well as this godlike savior of humanity as well. He's a total arsehole. I'm totally with you on that, my dude. Like, yeah, and people are right to be suspicious of these people. But again, that there's levels and layers and stuff like that. And just because basically this person's a lying shit and he's going to take advantage of a situation doesn't mean that every single thing is untrue or can't be explained, basically. But I'm with you 100%, Sarawi, dude. Like you're absolutely 100% right, and you're right to be suspicious of these things, and you're right to be aware of these things, and you're right to be looking at these things, and this is what we should be doing. But like, say, to my mind, a lot of the stuff that basically, like, I've been arguing against tonight, stuff like, you know, the virus doesn't exist, the virus has been isolated, the tests don't work, masks are detrimental to people's health in a disproportionate level, etc., etc., etc. That's actually feeding into like the government's sort of plot, basically, like in a strange way, because it's basically, as I say, I think that particularly in the UK, they're going for herd immunity, and the broader sort of concept of that is that this idea basically it's selling the idea that, well, if the virus doesn't exist or isn't that bad or blah blah blah, then regardless of what the papers say or regardless of what the figures say, actually the government didn't do that bad in their response. And it is literally that simple, that basically there's a lot of disinformation that's being pushed pretty much to give the government a pass for their terrible response to this and the huge numbers of people that were affected by this.
How does herd immunity work?
A big part, sir?
How does herd immunity work?
Herd immunity won't really work, because the problem with this is that, again, herd immunity, I don't know whether you know this, but the concept of herd immunity is actually being pushed by behavioral insight, which is the nudge unit. Sunita Gupta and Carl Hennigan and Carol Sikora, they're all promoted by Surgery Communications, which is the PR unit for the UK government's nudge unit. And various other papers like promoting herd immunity have come from the nudge unit and also come from Economic Insight, which is the PR unit for the HM Treasury. So all of these things are flawed. What it requires is to lock away the elderly. So Jason, I'm afraid, you know, if we go for herd immunity, my dude, you know, isolate the elderly and the vulnerable, so that the young can carry on with their life. That means you're isolated, my mate, because you've got that heart problem and your other conditions. Anyone that's diabetic, you're isolated, my dude. And the problem is that basically,
herd immunity won't work because it's got to do with individual immunity.
I don't think herd immunity will work because there's no evidence that basically anybody's shown to have got long-lasting immunity to the virus.
But there is no virus. It's got to do with our
Right.
immune. Everything's
Okay.
got to do with our immune system. Either our cells breaking down, acidity body. That's where cancer starts. Does cancer start in acidity or not? Does it thrive in acidity body?
No.
Cancer doesn't live in acidity.
No, you're going to quote that Warburg fellow, and you're going to misquote him because he
Yeah,
never.
but no,
ever said-
right. All you have to do is say, so it's not. Cancer doesn't live in an acidity body.
No, not in the way that you're saying.
Right. So is their body acid or alkaline based?
It's neither. It's really like you have, for example, acid in your stomach, and you have neutral in your
Are
blood.
we alkaline or acid based? Is what I'm
Neither,
asking.
twasic. Get it into
we
your
have
head.
we have acid, yeah, I know that. When the food was through our stomach, down into our
And
stomach.
is blood alkaline or is it neutral?
What?
Is your skin alkaline acid or is it neutral? It's neutral.
We are an alkaline base.
No,
We're back
no.
alkaline. And when government put fear out there and you put fear in there, out there, it breaks down the immune system. It breaks down the pH of the body.
Breaks down the immune system.
Fear.
Fear breaks down the immune.
Negativity. When people go into negativity and fear.
I agree with you.
Yeah. And that also goes down, put your body into acidity. And that's where things start thriving.
I agree with you.
Acidity.
No, I disagree.
Right. Well, then try it with your car when your car battery goes dead.
What the fuck is that going to do? You complained to me when I made a perfectly reasonable comparison between you not understanding the etymology.
Well, I'm still walking on the line.
Complaining about. Shut up, hang on.
Go on.
You made and that's a ridiculous comparison. Oh, well,
No,
you see what happens with your engine. Right, put
Well, then
sugar in your engine, see what
I'll take that
happens.
comparison.
Put sugar in you and see what happens.
I have
Go
no
on,
bother.
put
Hang
sugar
on.
in your engine, see what
Hang on.
happens.
When you're finished, I have no bother taking that comparison back, and I just stick to the fact that our body's alkaline, and cancer lives in an acidity body.
I agree. Verification.
pH of the body. What's the pH of the body?
It depends what bit of the body you're looking
What
at.
is the pH of the body?
It's mostly neutral.
What?
So 7 is that?
What's the pH of the body?
Mostly neutral, which is 7.
Is it? What's the
Yeah.
voltage of the body? Alkaline
No.
voltage of the body.
No.
You don't know. No bothers.
What's this got to do with coronavirus? Sorry.
That's grand. No bothers. Just wanted to see if you even knew them.
Brilliant. Well done. Congratulations. Poland.
Now,
That's all.
this to an end. It's been 3 hours and 15 minutes. So Robbie, I've had to mute you when you weren't talking because it was that was the thing that was like coming back. We were getting whenever someone else was talking, it was feeding back. So anyway, thanks for coming on, Sir Robbie, and let me see if his mic's any better. Let him just have a. Are you there, Sir Robbie? Oh, well. Anyway, it's been interesting. I've got to say that it's been very interesting. Thanks very much for coming on, Neil. Again,
Well, if you're polite to me, I'm polite back. If you act like a dick to me, I'm going to make you look fucking stupid for 20 minutes. Like, it's very simple and straightforward. Like, if you don't fucking want it, don't come at it. Like,
there you go, mate. Listen, that's fucking fine.
you know why you've not been able to fuck with me, right? Okay, all of you try it out because I'm telling the truth, and if I'm telling the truth, I don't have to fucking alter my position at all. I don't have to lie. I don't have to remember what I'm saying. I'm just telling you the truth.
I tell you what, you're one hell of a waffler.
Oh, devastating! I bet I'd go and fucking kill myself now.
Had the truth.
Have another crack. Go on.
No, just say you're one hell of a waffler.
Really, man, you need to just calm just down. It's just look, we're
Listen,
just.
hey, Jason, be nice to me. I'll be nice back to you. You act a twat. I'll expose you for being the twat you are. Mate, do you really think you're out of this looking anything other than a twat? Because
have I tried to make you look like a twat?
no, you haven't. That's why I've been nice to you.
There you go then. So anyway,
Paul came on wanting it, and he's embarrassed himself. And
Not
it's
at all.
on-
Come here. I
Oh,
wouldn't.
Come on, everyone thinks you have.
You're
Like,
finished.
you love sycophant saying, but like, come on, reasonably, you made a right
Right.
twat yourself. And there was
See,
no
that's-
need. No need. You could have just chatted nicely, okay? And I'd have been really nice to you.
Come here. And fair enough. I wouldn't try and make you look like a twat. You're doing that
Yes,
yourself.
you were. That's exactly why you came on.
No, you're doing that yourself.
Oh, yes, you did. Come on, just admit it. Be a man, admit it.
I don't have to. You're doing it yourself. What part do you not get? You're being a twat yourself. I don't have to make you look one.
That's not weird. That's just copying what I said.
No, you're making yourself look a twat. I don't have to
Yeah,
come
that's
on
just
here.
what I said. That's literally what I said 5 seconds ago. Rewind it.
Yeah. You said what? That you're a twat.
No, that you came on here and you made yourself look a twat.
I come on here, but you already being a twat on it. It makes
No.
no difference what I done.
All right, fine. Okay,
It
well,
makes
that's
no
okay.
difference.
I'm fucking gutted, Paul, because the only reason I came on here was to impress you.
anyway,
That's really, really my entire life.
people, I'm going to end this broadcast, but I think I might record the bit that goes on afterwards, and then put that up as a separate thing. No, of course I won't do that. But anyway, listen, thanks very much to Neil Sanders for coming on the show, mate. Listen, I know you feel like you're in the corner. You know, you're like a cornered. A cornered animal, and you've been.
I know. It's good to visit.
You don't hold yourself right, and
issues and stuff like that. It fucks with your day, doesn't it?
Listen, it's. I hope you'll come back on again. It's
Mate, like, of course I'll come back on and I'll do this again. Like, you know, like I actually really enjoyed this. Like, and again, Paul, like, I'm sure we'd if we met in real life, sure we get on really well. Same to you, Sir Robbie, and same to that other guy that was on earlier and stuff like that. I know they're gonna hate me, but I don't give a fuck, to be quite honest. So, you know, I'm gonna come on here and I'm gonna tell you the truth.
Like, Neil,
I'll be back on here anytime you want, Jason.
Neil, in fairness, I'm only giving my opinion, and that's all we can.
No, fine. Like, dude, like, come on. It's the internet. It doesn't fucking matter.
All we can do is give our opinions. None of us can do any more. None of us can do any more than that, in fairness.
You're exactly right, Paul. Like, and as I say, I'm sure if we met in real life, we'd get on like a house on fire, and we'd get massively pissed and find that we really like each other.
You know what?
So,
I'd even share the spliff with you that you have there. That's how worried I'm a bit of virus.
well, again, and so would I. This is my point. Again, like, I'm not trying to catastrophize or anything. I'm just saying, like, come on. Like,
I'm just making the idea.
This is incorrect. This is incorrect. Or I found something contrary to your position, and it deserves looking at in the same way that your stuff deserves looking at. Okay, the counter argument deserves looking at.
Absolutely.
There we go. That's a great note to end on. The counter argument deserves looking at, no matter what your point of view is on anything. The counter argument always deserves a look at. So. Listen, I'm going to say, go on, Neil.
One more thing, because this is something that's really been playing on people's minds. And I know this is going to be controversial. I know, I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. Okay, but I have to say it. I really have to say it. I use VO5 fiber. That's what I use for my hair.
Right, there you go, VO5. And we thought it was just sugar and water, as we used to do it.
Yeah, I tried that. I did seriously try that in my youth. I used to have like all different fucking colors and like twisted into like different spikes coming out and stuff like mental and stuff like that. I got like, you know, sent home from school and stuff as well. But like, no, it's just VO5 fiber. Like, so I know that was plaguing people. Like most of the people who won't have stayed around for this, they'll decide on a cock and like have gone aging and stuff. But no, this is what happens. You'll never know how to get your hair as luscious as this.
Well, the Urban Collective thought it was spunk.
That does work. Apparently,
he knows he might have a spunk guy. That you
might have a spunk guy. Yeah, this is the thing.
Anyway, listen, everybody. Thanks very much
for like, you know, makes you look young as well. But
well, I don't know. Anyway, Thanks, Neil. Thank you, Corte, Paul. Mate, cheers, Paul. And I'll speak to you very soon. And thanks to you, Sir Robbie, as well for coming on, and Super Leeds, who dropped in earlier on. I'll be back on Friday night for a broadcast after dark, and I shall see you all on Friday. And enjoy yourselves, and whatever you do, don't put spunk in your hair.
Unless you want it really